All right, a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. Packed show as it typically is on a Tuesday. Adam Teicher joins us at 11 o'clock for a couple of segments. We will hang out with Les Norman. We'll break the norm coming up at noon. Todd Lebo at 1 o'clock. We'll play some Fact or Fiction with Todd Lebo and get into a lot of other things throughout the show as well. 913-912-4810. Royals even their record at 2-2, playing .500 baseball, hitting around a Brewers team that is in some dire straits right now, and you're hoping that the Royals can continue that losing team losing over these next couple of days against the Brewers because they are struggling. Their pitching staff is pretty awful. Maybe it wasn't just the torpedo bats for the Yankees. Maybe it was just that, the Brewers pitching staff is incredibly injured right now, and they are throwing guys that they weren't planning on throwing. Rodriguez wasn't a plan for their rotation to start the season. The guy, has had 2 starts in the major leagues since, July 14th of 2022. He's had 2 starts. He pitched in Japan last year. He wasn't good in spring training. And he started yesterday because old Mother Hubbard and only Vaughn's in the cupboard. Somebody's got to pitch. And going today is Chad Patrick, who the Brewers even said, well, he wasn't part of our plan to be in the rotation, which has to be really confidence instilling for him, knowing that, well, I guess you're going to go to the mound. It's not like we had plans for you to be in our rotation this year, but injuries happen, so somebody has to pitch. So he's going to the mound today. He got hit around by the Yankees in his 1 inning of relief, and now he's going to be starting today. They also have even worse news as well with their injuries. They put Aaron Civale on the DL yesterday, IL, DL, whatever, with a hamstring injury. He got hit around in New York, but he was one of their healthy pitchers, and now he's on the 15-day IL. So they have some real problems pitching. So maybe it's not the torpedo bats. Maybe it's just the Brewers. But you know what? You know what the Royals didn't do? They didn't let a struggling pitching staff get some momentum and figure some things out. They kept a struggling pitching staff that's going, who the hell is going to get outs? Go to the mound on opening day with the Bob Uecker Memorial and all of that. And the Royals immediately jumped on the Brewers and stayed with their foot on the gas pedal throughout the game to put 11 runs up there on the board and have Chris Bubich out there dealing and Daniel Lynch out there dealing as well again and looking like a playoff team, because that's what a playoff team does to a team that's struggling or not playing good baseball right now. A playoff team goes out there and just punks them for 9 innings.
What I think was so impactful, because we've seen this before from the Royals, where they make, even when they have been good, they make these unknown pitchers look like Cy Young.
That's a great point. Last year, that was the theme last year, right?
They hit the Clases, they hit around the aces, and they get a guy you've never heard of, and he looks like Nolan Ryan.
That's a good point.
And so
it's funny how we forget the themes of last year so quickly. And so I'm glad you brought that up, man.
And so
Great
for me,
callback.
the first inning almost had that feel where they get guys on. Salvi comes up, has a chance to at least get a sac fly, and he strikes out. Just a brutal strikeout. And we're thinking, at least I was, here we go again. And then Michael Massey rips a double over Yelich's head in left field, and they get 1. But it wasn't just there, because Hunter Renfroe came up, and we have been very critical.
We've been telling everybody, be patient.
Yeah.
We have preached patience with Renfroe. Just be patient.
We have been extremely critical of Hunter Renfroe, and he came up and ripped a 2-out single that scored 2. And again, the floodgates from there somewhat open. Michael Garcia continues to be Sammy Sosa in early season form. That's what he does every single early. Once it hits like July, I want to see what Michael Garcia is, because I know he can rake until then. This is what Michael Garcia does. What is interesting to watch is that was the, I believe, longest ball he's hit in his entire Major League career.
No kidding.
428 feet. I think his career.
448.
I thought it was 428.
No, it's 448.
That home run?
Yeah.
Well, then that for sure would be. I'm looking at 428 right here.
I saw listed last night at 448. I wrote it down. I put it in my diary. I even said, wow, I didn't think it went that far.
Everything I've seen is 428. So
Okay.
either way, I think 428 is still 448 for sure. Would be the longest.
Maybe I was enjoying 420 last night, and that's why I saw 448. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I don't typically do that, but that's why it would make sense just to be confused.
But 108 to exit velo, he is squaring every single ball up. Isbell's job isn't safe right now. If Michael continues to do this, I thought he played a fine center field.
Took a little interesting route, but I think he'll get used to it. I think Isbell catches the ball that was in the gap.
Yeah.
But, again, they give up one. It wasn't so crucial or a bad misplay that, oh, wow, the floodgates opened up.
Yeah, and when I say fine, it's not Altuve when he was dropping it or Jason Dominguez when he was dropping it all in spring training. It was fine. He moved to second base. But, yeah, I think to me that was the main takeaway was they didn't let, as you're mentioning, a struggling team, a team with a unknown pitcher almost, come and punk them. It was the opposite. And then the floodgates, I think that first inning to me, when Hunter Renfroe came through, that to me was absolutely massive. When the captain, Salvi, struck out, and I thought, oh my God, oh my goodness, here we go again.
Yeah, no, it's a great callback and a great pull from last year that it was like, hey, they've got this no-name on the mound. Like, why is this no-name doing that? Yeah, everything here is 428. Here, right here. Look, this is why. It says 448 right there, right? Michael Garcia 448.
What app is that on?
That's I pulled that up on the Yahoo app. Those Yahoos.
Oh, those Yahoo. You can't trust Yahoo.
Yahoos.
I play fantasy baseball on Yahoo. They're a bunch of hooligans over there.
It's actually my favorite sports app for scores. Like, honestly, the interface is just clean, easy.
Oh, yeah.
Quick to navigate, and it's my absolute. People are like, what app do you use for the scores and everything? Yahoo immediately. That's what I go to. CBS. The interface matters to me. How quickly it is to navigate. Because if I'm on the air and I'm like, all right, I need to go back. What was in the third inning, the play that happened there? Okay, boom, boom. There it is. I got the plays pulled up that quickly. Oh, yeah, Garcia hit a 448 home run. Home run. Thanks a lot. And I got to take back all the things that I said. Yeah, 428. 448 clearly would have been.
Yeah, that would have been.
Because when you said it's the longest home run he hit, I'm like, okay, that tracks.
Yeah.
448. Yeah, of course it is. But 428 for sure. But Garcia has looked awesome. And he made the phenomenal play in the ninth inning, and there's no question about his ability to play in the dirt. We know that. The guy's got a great arm, and running to his right and in shallow center field, turning and throwing sidearm and throwing it on the dot where Canna doesn't really have to move the glove and to beat the runners, pretty legit play by Garcia. And by the way, they were up by 10 runs. Didn't really need it, but still go out and making those plays. Get a double play by Lynch in the eighth, and Brewers are like, damn, what do we need to do here? 913-912-4810. So we'll get into some of the things from the league meetings in the NFL that I want to talk about with Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan and them weighing in. Sam McDowell's story at the Kansas City Star, Front Office Sports has a story up there about the stadium talk, and Clark Hunt giving an update on the stadium talk, Mark Donovan giving an update on the stadium talk. I cut a clip from when we talked to Mark Donovan at the Super Bowl that we hear from that as well. But let's hear from Matt Quattrero on Chris Bubich, because I want to talk about what we saw yesterday and why there may be more staying power to this rather than just, it's a nice outing against the Brewers and wait till they get the book on them, which still could be the case. But let's listen to Quattrero weigh in on Chris Bubich's outing from yesterday afternoon.
You see the swing and miss, on the fastball too. So we know he's deceptive. We know it has good carry. He must have been locating it really well also. So to set the tone like that, strike out the side in the first, and then to come back with an efficient second and third as well, after we scored, the shutdown innings were big.
First start for him since 2023 in the big leagues. What do you think that means to him, and what did it mean to you guys to have him out there?
Well, we knew coming into the season, he's a pretty darn good guy pitching the fourth day of the season for us. We're really confident with him, very comfortable, and happy for him, too. He worked hard. We saw what he accomplished out of the bullpen, but to be back in the rotation is a big accomplishment for him.
He was at 83 pitches, I think, after the fifth inning. What's the conversation like there to send him out for another? And obviously, no trouble was amassed there.
Yeah, we were comfortable getting him into the mid-90s. He was in the low 80s his last start in spring training in Texas. And, we were very comfortable with that pitch count. Now, it wouldn't have been long leash, we would have had Zerpa ready. But with the 5-run lead and going out for the 6th, we were comfortable with that workload.
The reason why I'm more optimistic rather than just one particular outing, it goes back to what we talked about the day after his start in Arlington last week when we were discussing, the last tune-ups for the pitchers where it's like, oh, Reagan's got tuned up to the tune of 8 earned runs before he takes the mound on opening day. No big deal. He's just working on stuff, just trying to get the feel. Lugo gave up 4 earned runs in 5 innings in his last outing. Oh, no big deal. Just getting ready. Bubic, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 8 Ks. There it is. See, you want to look good before the season starts. But one of the things we talked about was how he looked, not just the success that was there, but he threw 5 innings against the Rangers that had their lineup that was getting ready to start the season. The lineup they threw out that day is the lineup we're seeing for the Rangers. But he went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned run, and 8 strikeouts. Yesterday, 6 innings, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 3 hits, no earned runs. And what I pointed out was against Marcus Semien, to start off the game, strikeout swinging on a fastball. Wyatt Langford, second at bat of the game, strikeout swinging on a changeup. Jake Berger, strikeout looking on his slider / sweeper that he's using. In the second, Josh Smith, fastball, swinging, strikeout. In the 5th, Taveras, fastball, swinging, strikeout. Duran, fastball, swinging, strikeout. Semien, slider, swinging, strikeout. They weren't just fooled. They were, and every single one of those strikeouts swinging, by the way, because the strikeouts looking were obviously strikes.
Yeah.
But every one of those strikeouts swinging, except for Duran, would have been strike 3 if they did not swing. He was pitching in the zone and getting swings and misses. That's legit pitching. Not just fooling people can be awesome. I mean, you can be the guy that's the chemist on the, well, not the chemist, but the scientist, the professor out there on the mound, and just fooling guys and pitching in a way that this guy is guessing this and he guesses wrong, and hey, but when you're throwing fastballs by guys, and of those swinging strike 3s, only one of them was outside of the zone, and that was when it was Duran on a 1-2 pitch on a fastball that looked like it just kept rising like he was a softball pitcher. Like it was barely above the strike zone. And on a 1-2 pitch, Duran's not taking that. How many hitters are taking that? Some might connect. Stephen Kwan connected against Sam Long on a fastball outside of the zone high, and he put that into right center. That's Sam Long, not Chris Bubic. And so I look at that start, carried over to this start, because I thought it was more important for Chris Bubic to get a little momentum heading into the season rather than a Lugo, a Reagans, a Waka that got touched up a little bit in their final outing. They got tuned up in their final tune-up.
To me, this has been the fastball is the story for Chris Bubic.
Yes.
Because it's never going to be 97, 98, and that's why people were enamored with Daniel Lynch originally, because they thought the velocity was going to carry over. He was going to get up there, right? Then it was going to be Brady Singer because the movement on his sinker. But Chris Bubic, he's going to have to be a crafty guy. He was going to have that changeup. He threw the changeup 10 times in 95 pitches. That is typically his go-to pitch. That's his out pitch.
Yep.
He threw it 10. That was his 4th pitch yesterday. It was the 4-seamer. It was the sweeper. It was the slider. Then it was the change. That is huge for Chris Bubic going forward. There's still something left that he was saving for going down the road. And David Lesky had a really good call on this. We've been kind of monitoring his fastball for a while now because we just didn't think it was going to hurt him. Yeah. In 2022, he gave up a 299 average and 464 slugging percentage on his fastball. In 2020 originally. 2022, 348 average, 587 slugging percentage. He's changed. Yeah. He's evolved.
Because he was like change up first. Like he was pitching backwards a lot.
Because he could not get his fastball not torched. And this has been the evolution of Chris Bubic to now. That is not just the worst pitch he throws to now that might be the best pitch he throws. And now that changeup looks even more dangerous and dastardly.
But also like his development of working on different pitches. Like he came up to the big leagues and it was like, this guy has a major league changeup.
Yes.
So you know what he did? He threw the changeup. That was his pitch that he relied upon. And he didn't have much else to go off of. And so when he was getting touched up, it was because they were sitting changeup and he wasn't placing the other pitches. The changeup was still legit. Like, he was good enough to continue to be a Major League Baseball pitcher.
Yes.
Not a stud ace, not a closer, but he belonged on a staff, whether that be long relief in the bullpen, middle relief, fifth starter, whatever. He was fine. But the evolution of his game now, and by the way, I don't know if Bubic would have developed this way with, say, I don't know, Cal Eldred. I don't know if he would have developed this way, but I know this. The pitchers developing and evolving now, the hitters doing different things now versus before. It was funny. We got in a conversation at my fantasy baseball draft over the weekend. I don't know this. I play fantasy baseball. But we had a conversation about Ryan O'Hearn. He was drafted. It's a very deep league, but it was Ryan O'Hearn, and people were like, one of our good buddies knows, he's the commissioner of the league, knows so much about baseball. And there are names where people are calling out names to draft. And I'm just like, who the hell is that? And he's typing it up on the board. Outfield, Brewers. I'm like, how the hell do you know this, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, Ryan O'Hearn, finally going to a different club and listening to what the hitting coaches are telling him to do. And then he actually does it. Hey, you're good at this. Why don't you do this more? I'm like, yeah, but would you listen to that coaching staff at that time with the Royals? Like, if the Royals if that coaching staff of the Royals was telling you, hey, you should do this and this. Yeah, see, these guys are leaving this organization and they're becoming better players at different organizations. Why is that? Remember that story that was out there in the Kansas City Star, or it was Andy Rogers? I can't remember who it was. I want to give credit where credit is due, but the story was about Royals players saying, this is what we're seeing with other players going to different organizations. There's not really a trust with the coaching staff and the development. Well, that's all brand new. And now Chris Bubic doing what he's doing. And you hope there's other development from different, Daniel Lynch doing what he's doing in the bullpen. And so I do think there's an element of, okay, I trust this particular guy. Michael Garcia, I hope it's not just a hot start, because in the offseason, Alex Zumwalt saying Michael Garcia was crashing towards the pitch. Like, he was putting so much weight on his front foot. Like, Garcia took the toe tap away last year, wanting to hit more home runs, didn't spend the offseason really tinkering or working on his swinging and honing it, went to the Venezuelan League, and he plays baseball.
Yeah.
And so he starts the season last year, and he's hitting home runs, and then he goes into a massive slump, and he's bad. And Zumwalt at the end of the season, and with Garcia recovering from off-season work, not playing in the Venezuelan League, working on the swing, and Alex Zumwalt getting him to stop crashing, to keep your weight back, the toe tap, let the ball ride a little bit more, let the ball get in on you a little bit more before you're swinging. Don't be lunging for it. Even if you're talking about a half inch or 2 inches lunging at the ball. In Major League Baseball, that's all the difference in the world.
Well, so if you lunge, you need a torpedo bat.
That's exactly right. But it looks different now.
Yeah.
His swing, the one thing that I loved about Michael Garcia's swing 2 years ago is that it was so beautiful in how long it stayed flat through the zone. I mean, it was like he was taking a broom just through the zone, just sweeping straight. It was unbelievable. And then he offers the launch angle, and let me put a little more tilt and lift on it. Just be you, man. Just be you, and the home runs will come when you're not trying to hit home runs. Okay, I don't think he's tried to hit a home run. I think there's an element of him trying to hit home runs last year, and he hit 4 of them. That was awesome. And then continued to try to hit in April.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah. I don't think he's tried to hit either home run that he's hit.
No.
I think he's just putting the swing that he uses on the ball. He's bigger now. He's older. His body has grown naturally, unlike Jurickson Profar. His body has grown naturally over the last couple of years. And so when he's connecting with the ball, it's traveling further as opposed to a couple of years ago. And so with the previous coaching staff, is he still crashing this year? Do they make a different adjustment? Do they just work on the swing that he developed for 2024 and try to get him to now perfect the launch angle? Yeah, you tried it last year, but let's try this. It's not working for MJ right now. Whatever he's trying to do, not working for MJ. But was MJ working with the Royals coaching staff, or was MJ working with his own swing coaches?
Sure.
Okay. Michael Garcia working with Zumwalt and the Royals coaching staff in figuring out what was going on with his swing. I think the organization or the players in the organization would have a 180 mindset right now, I would guess, from where they were 4 years ago when that story came out. Oh, it was, I'm trying to think. It was Alex, who's with the Minnesota Vikings now in the Athletic.
Oh, he went to Mizzou. I know him. Good guy. Really good dude.
Yes.
Alec Lewis.
Alex Lewis. Alec Lewis, yes. Alec Lewis, because he was with the Athletic with the Royals.
Yeah.
And he had that story. I'm like 98% positive.
Yeah.
I'm 98 degrees. I'm Nick Lachey positive that was Alec Lewis that had that story about, Jacob Junis is doing that over there. You know why? Because he trusts the Giants telling him this is what we think you should do, where the Royals said this is what we think you should do. And he said, no, I'm not really going to do that. I don't trust you guys. Players are leaving this organization and becoming better. Ryan O'Hearn left the organization, went to Baltimore, and became a legit player in a lineup for a team that made the playoffs. He was a laughingstock in Kansas City. People hated him. He was the whipping boy. He was the one that when they signed him to a deal, bringing him back, Twitter went crazy.
Yeah.
And Ryan O'Hearn then tweeted out and said, haven't been online today. How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. That's awesome. I liked Ryan O'Hearn from the second he did that. I'm
That
like,
was
you know
hilarious,
what?
yeah.
That is awesome. That guy, I like him. That guy's not taking himself too seriously. He's playing Major League Baseball. He knows what people are saying about him. And bleep it, let's have a little fun. Maybe that was his way of dealing with it. I don't know. But he goes to Baltimore, and he's respected by the fans and the organization, and he's doing what you would expect him to do. He didn't do that here. Why was that? I don't know. But these guys are now performing. And Chris Bubich, what he's doing gives me more faith that this is something that has more staying power because of exactly what you talked about of the fastball. In that he threw, let's see, last night or yesterday afternoon, he recorded 15 swings and misses, and 11 of those 15 came on the fastball, which is tied for his career best. For 11 swings and misses on his fastball, tied for his career best. The last time he did that was in October of 2022. Now, he's been pitching out of the bullpen a little bit, but also 2023 had a number of starts where he looked pretty good before Tommy John surgery. But he also had 18 called strikes. More than a third of his pitches were swings and misses or called strikes.
He's the anti-Carlos Hernandez.
Yeah,
Hernandez throws 100 miles an hour, and you're saying, what? It's because this 92, 93, cresting 94 from Bubich has so much movement, and it started early in the game with Jackson Chirino. When he struck out Jackson Chirino on that four-seam fastball, it was 93 center cut. It was about center. But if you look at it, and it's middle. But when you see the movement on it and how he hides the ball as long as he does, you see why. You see why Chirino was late on it. You see why later in the at-bat, in the fifth inning to Chirino again, actually, he threw 93 up in the zone. And Chirino is extremely late on it. It's because there's so much movement.
When he also been throwing, and he said yesterday, sliders and sweepers up in the zone to help get either weak contact or also set up that fastball up in the zone to where it's like, oh, now this is coming in straight and it's almost rising.
Yep.
And 93 looks different when I've been looking at sliders and sweepers in that same sort of area. He was just pitching brilliantly yesterday. It was so much fun to watch.
Dylan, I'd love to know this because I don't know when you were, because this is a new kind of phenomenon. When you were pitching, did they still somewhat teach, keep it down, sliders only, don't, everything's down, everything's down.
And sweepers
Everything's down.
low.
Right?
Everything was down, yes. You did not want to leave anything up and elevate any pitches above the, right middle.
But how long ago was that? That was, you're 38?
I would say that's 10 years.
About 10 years ago,
About
right?
10 years ago.
So about 10 years ago, the thought process around all of baseball was still keep everything down. Fastball, curve, slider, everything.
Yeah,
well,
and then he says yesterday, I'm throwing sweepers middle up.
Well, that's the whole point,
middle
though.
up sweepers. What are you doing, Chris?
Because, but when you think about it, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you? And I remember one of the first times I saw it was Steven Strasburg used to try and throw curveballs above the zone and then have it come down and crest. But I always thought that's so smart because, yes, if they're sitting on it, it's hung. I understand that thought process. I'm not saying leave everything middle. But when you throw a slider or a sweeper in on the hands, I'm sorry, Dylan, I know we need to take a break here.
No, that's not.
Did I say something silly?
Yeah, I'll tell you in the break. We do need a break, but you finish up what you're saying here.
The point remains. I don't know why it took this long to. I'm done. I don't know why it took this long.
I know why. I honestly, no, I'm being serious now.
For players,
because I see what you're saying.
Because
for players to adjust.
just because the thought process was down for so long, and then you get into what we're seeing now, everyone's swing is an uppercut. Well, yeah, you should throw a whole bunch of stuff up in the zone. Whether it's a fastball, a slider, a sweeper, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a whole bunch of weak contact.
Yeah, adjust to the batter, and now the batter's adjusting to the pitcher with torpedo bats, and then also with PEDs. Thank God. Oh, thank God Jurickson Profar wanted 3 years. Thank God he wasn't going to settle for the Royals' 2-year offer. Thank you, Jurickson. Thank you, Profar, for doing that. Oh, thank goodness. Also, he would never knowingly ingest anything like PEDs. He had no idea that he put that in his body after having an absolute career year last year. I don't know. A little coincidental there, too, for Jurickson Profar. It's not only, by the way, it's not only the 80 games, but with the PED suspension, a part that's being missed on this, because with the Braves bringing him in, it's an 80-game suspension, but he's ineligible for the postseason. So if the Royals would have signed him, oh, you miss him for 80 games. Yes, and the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yes. He's ineligible. He can't play in the postseason for the Braves. They're 0-5, so they got a lot of catching up to do. But there's going to be 5-game losing streaks along the way for every single team, and Acuna not there, all of that stuff. And Strider, when they add Strider and Acuna, it'll be different. But Profar will not be there in October for the Braves because of this. He would not be part of the Royals if they got their outfield bat, Jurickson Profar, that'll help him in the playoffs. No, he won't. Even if he comes back and looks like he did last year, it won't matter come October because he's ineligible now with the PEDs. With Chris Bubich, and I'm going to talk to Les Norman about this too, I loved what Chris Bubich said in that he's now pitching like a reliever 1 inning at a time. He's not going into the first inning saying, I got to hold this pitch for the 5th inning. If I don't get to the 5th inning, I don't get to the 5th inning. But if I hold this pitch to the 5th inning, I may not get there anyway. So I have 1 inning to come in relief, and now I've got the 2nd inning I'm coming in relief. Now I'm coming in relief. It happens to be the 3rd inning of the game, but it's my 1st inning in relief. It's the 4th inning of the game. It's my 1st inning of relief each and every time out there. And that mindset has served him well through spring, was awesome yesterday, and I'm pumped for what Chris Bubich can be for this team. By the way, shout out Brady Singer. Brady Singer, 7 innings, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts for the Reds. Tied the record for the Reds for a Reds debut for strikeouts in a game with 8. So good for him. India was awesome yesterday, and Brady Singer was awesome. Great trade. Also, that 2018 draft for the Royals killed the Brewers yesterday. 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, and went 3 for 5. Bubich, Lynch, and Singer. Singer went 3 for 5 yesterday with 2 runs scored, got on base 3 times for the Royals as a leadoff hitter. And Bubich and Lynch pitched 8 of the 9 innings and got 10 strikeouts. Gave up no earned runs. It's a hell of a 2018 draft yesterday. Warzone next. 810 WHB, Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels.
I was told what I said in the break, and boy, am I ashamed.
No, you shouldn't
You know what?
be ashamed.
No, you
Don't
know
be
what?
ashamed.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, be proud.
I'm
Don't
proud.
be ashamed. Don't be bashful.
When you tell
Texas, I think what you're looking for is a magician. I don't believe scientists are in the business of fooling people. Yeah. What was Maddox's nickname? Well, I guess it depends who you ask now nowadays. Boy, yeah, that's a great point. Tex says 428 feet. Yeah. Another text says, "Hey, good for Hunter Renfrow. When he throws the ball, when he throws a ball to home plate successfully, I'll stop worrying." Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, magician, or just the guy that's out there, the professor, just out there smart. Just he's pitching on a different level. Greg Maddux, guy was brilliant. Guy was a pitching savant, is what he was. The league meetings are going on in Florida right now for the NFL. And part of that is Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan talking about the updates to the stadium. And the update that we get from Sam McDowell's story at the Kansas City Star is that the Royals are looking at figuring out and making a decision by the summer. June 30th is when the Star bonds expire. We talked with Mark Donovan, and I want to play the clip. It's about 4 minutes long here in a second. But in this, just to paraphrase one specific part of it, and he said, we sort of like, don't anticipate wanting to work for an extension. But in the quote that he said to us, it was, you can get an extension on that particular Star bond as long as you show there's reasonable progress towards that. But do you want to risk having to go back to the legislature for a vote where they can just say, no, we're not going to extend it, and now, poof, that's gone? So then now you're like, okay, now we got to have a measure on the ballot in Jackson County. Well, now that's all we have to do. So now we're going back to the table with Jackson County that are going, well, actually, we'd like a better deal now. Actually, we'd like this or this. Or maybe there's less public money to the public-private, partnership that's there. But Clark Hunt's saying summer. That's when they'll have a decision. And again, summer, I would guess, I'm pretty confident it's going to be before June 30th. That doesn't mean that it's going to be before June 30th, and therefore they're going to agree to the deal in Kansas. But the question you would have is, if they choose Jackson County over Kansas, it still then, in theory, is going to have to go to a vote where a year ago tomorrow is when the voters said, no, thank you, to extending the 3/8 cent tax.
It's very hard.
Tomorrow is 1 year ago when that happened.
Very hard to turn down the bird in hand.
Yes.
I mean, it is very difficult to turn down, because what you're essentially doing then is saying, we think that the deal that you're buying the deal for this and saying we're going to turn that down and trying to basically sell it for more. And that's what you're trying to do, is basically saying we believe we can get a better deal from Jackson County.
And the voters will vote for it.
And the voters will vote for it.
And we'll get the public money from the state and the county and the city. And we'll get all of that together. Now the drawback on Kansas would be that the private investment would have to be much more substantial.
Sure.
Because you're talking about $1 billion renovation to Arrowhead or a $3 billion new build.
Sure.
So the private is going to have to be much more substantial, but at least there's sort of a known cost and a known, this is what we need to get to, this is what we have to have, and there's an unknown if you get past June 30th and there isn't an extension and there's no deal over in Kansas and you're going with Jackson County and you're going for an August or a November measure on the ballot.
Yeah.
Here's the conversation we had with Mark Donovan. This was at the Super Bowl, so about 7 weeks ago, less than 2 months ago, we had this conversation. I asked him, because Super Bowl is a big part of it. And, he said yesterday at the league meeting that, yes, the Chiefs, the only way that it becomes viable in Kansas is if there's a Super Bowl, Final Fours, national championship games, bowl games, things like that. Concerts year-round because you would have a weatherized environment, whether that's a rolling roof, a roof open, a dome. They got a dome. You can open – sorry, Dylan. I know Dylan's focusing on getting ready to play the clip.
They got a dome.
But here's Mark Donovan, and it started off with a Super Bowl in Kansas City if the west side of the state line is where they decide to go.
I mean, that's one of the advantages of a new building is that you could attract an event like this. We have this amazing opportunity. People are going to see it firsthand in a couple of years when we do World Cup. And then to be able to be in the rotation, hopefully, for Super Bowls would be amazing. But think beyond that. Final Fours, Big 12 championships, basketball and football, bowl games.
College football national
championship. Year-round concerts. There are a lot of advantages to it. But you got to weigh that against the iconic nature of Arrowhead and the experience that we've created that is a worldwide bucket list item. So I know our fans have heard it from me before, and it gets a little bit frustrating about we're making progress. I would just add to that a little bit more detail, that the progress we're making now is literally like down the path of steps you have to take. So we continue to move down that path, and now we're at the point of okay, got a pretty good understanding of the plan to do this. How do we get that plan executed? What's it take? Who do we have to get on board? Is this a vote? Is this not a vote? All those things are now the discussions we're in, and we're into the detail of it. So we'll continue that process, and at the end of the day, we'll make the right decision for this fan base and for generations of fans.
Would there be an understanding if we go down the road and it's a dome? Would there be an understanding from the league that, hey, if this happens, Kansas City will get a Super Bowl?
Yeah, so I'm on the committee at the league level that decides Super Bowl locations, and I think it's been fair to say that the league won't put it in writing, but there's a general understanding that if we do this, that's our expectation, and I think you're going to see that in the next couple of years with new buildings in Nashville. You saw that with Vegas. You saw that with L.A. You're going to see that more and more. I think that'd be an understanding. I think we got a little bit of a track record here.
Yeah.
And then when we had the rolling roof, it was the first time ever that the commissioner actually committed to a Super Bowl before the stadium was built.
So we know about the star bonds in July. Is that a hard deadline in July, or can that be pushed to different ways, or is this where, all right, this plan and these steps that you're talking about need to be done as you get closer and closer to that deadline?
We worked really hard and closely with the Kansas legislature. They were pretty amazing in how quickly they reacted and their efficiency of getting that passed. It created legislation that makes it possible. To answer your question, that deadline is we have to have made substantial progress in order to get an extension.
Okay. It's
already written in that we get a year extension, but I think everybody's goal is to get it figured out before that.
I've always wondered too, if this is the case, that there's so much space out there, and I guess space starts to get limited when you start to add all these things in there. But with the practice facility or things around it, any plans for if we go down that route of okay, this is now a soccer or a flag football facility to host tournaments across the United States, or baseball and softball turf fields to go along with it, that it's just sort of rolled in with here's the stadium, here's a training facility, here's a couple of fields. Oh, and we also have this complex to where we're hosting these national tournaments here in Kansas City.
It's a really, really astute observation. The reality is we've looked at a couple places where we could put either a training facility or a stadium and develop flag football facilities and use them as potential training sites for Olympic flag football, potentially professional flag football. So, when we're making these decisions today, it's a 30-year decision.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we have the most flexibility we possibly can. So you may not build a whole training facility for flag in year 1, 2, or 3, but Olympics in 28, it's a flag football Olympic. The NFL is in discussions about a professional flag football league team. So if there's a franchise, why wouldn't we do that in conjunction with either a training facility or a new stadium? And then you get into the other benefits to communities and young athletes. with a facility like this, all of a sudden you create this opportunity for kids.
Oh, did it stop? Oh, well, I messed up something then. There. That's probably my apologies. Something I did.
No, it's a cliffhanger.
It's
It's a really long break. It's just a real long.
No, I promise you, it's probably an operator error on my part. That's pretty much that was the main thing. I don't know if there was anything else in there.
But what was he going to say, Jason? I'm now on pins and needles, literally.
He was going to say,
I brought him in.
All right, we have an announcement to make. We have decided to go in Kansas. All right, Jason, I'm breaking it on your show. And nobody heard it before. Nobody heard it at that time. It's odd.
Allegedly, of course.
Nobody heard that. It's so weird. But those are the main things that he was talking about, is that June 30th, the plan is that they aren't going to want to ask for an extension, that something is going to be done before that. Clark Hunt said yesterday at the league meeting that they are hopeful by summer at the latest is when they will have an announcement of where they're going to be. And hearing Mark Donovan there and saying, we have a plan, and now it's just what are next steps of the plan? How do we get people on board? It's an interesting quote in those answers there of, yeah, we've got a plan. Now it's next steps of that plan. We also don't think we're going to need to ask for an extension of the Star Bonds. And we've examined the details of a facility for flag football and developing that, because the Olympics in 2028, hey, where would they train? The NFL is examining a professional flag football league. Oh, hey, if they're going to do that, as Mark Donovan said, why wouldn't we be one of the franchises?
I've solved it. I
to
understand
be part of the flag football team. So where would that flag football team train and where would they play? Oh, well, you know what? If you've got these details, work ahead of it, and now you've got a facility for your professional flag football team and a stadium that's already built there where people can come out and watch the professional. I don't know how many people would do that. I'm not sure what the audience or the interest would be for that, but they are working ahead, and it's obvious so many different ideas and plans come together in Kansas without the ballot measure, as opposed to renovating Arrowhead and what they might be able to do in limited space. Now, when you take out Kaufman, that opens some things up.
Yeah.
Not just an activation zone. That's there. But that opens some things up. And maybe it's for hotels. Maybe if it's for a book, a casino. Now that Missouri is going to legalize, gaming. I said when they put out those renovations, when they put out the details of that, and it was very uninspiring, I said the activation zone to me is a placeholder for what would be a casino right there once Missouri passes, gaming and gets that done, then they can connect in some way, because in Kansas that would be an advantage already that they have ingrained in that. But he also said you weigh that against the history of Arrowhead and what we've built as a tourist attraction. Okay, but you know what else is a tourist attraction? Final Fours, national championships, year-round concerts, bowl games, Big 12 championship. That's all. Flag football, Olympics, whatever it might be. Big-time flag football tournaments across the country coming to Kansas City. That's a tourist attraction too. That's bringing an economic impact to the city by doing some of those things, and then has the room there for the commercial investments, obviously, that NFL and professional franchises are into now. It's why Mark Cuban sold his part of the Mavericks, because he said professional sports is now about commercial real estate. That ain't my bag. I don't know about it. I'm out. And because of that, I'm out.
I think a big part of this too is nostalgia is a huge factor. I want it to stay at Arrowhead. That's my.
I just want to stay in Kansas City.
100%. But if I had my druthers, it's a renovation of Arrowhead. But originally it was, well, you can't leave Kemper. You can't leave Kemper. And then all of a sudden they built the Sprint Center at T-Mobile Center, and we're like, okay, this is better. This is awesome. If they built a new Arrowhead, people are still going to go.
Yeah.
It's good. In 20 years from now, we'll say, wow, look how amazing this is. I'm so glad they. Hopefully, again, we'll see where it is, if it's a renovation, if it's a new stadium, whatever it is. We're going to love it just the same. we'll still have the nostalgia and the look back of everything. But that's, I think, what people are so hung up on, myself included. Just build half in Kansas, half on the Missouri side. Boom. I've solved it.
I like the Royals' idea of hitting a home run into right field into the Missouri River, or hitting it from Kansas into Missouri. I love that idea. That's just fun. That's what that is.
You just can't do that with football, unfortunately. You can't we'll have Butker kick a field goal.
Mahomes threw that all the way to Missouri. He threw that all the way to Kansas, depending on which way they're going.
He made a good decision there on the goal line. You know, there wasn't a guy open. He threw it right in the Missouri River.
Just throw it. What if he did?
You have
throw it that far.
A basketball game there?
I could throw football over the mountains.
You have a basketball game, and you have like the half court on one side. Someone hits it from the other side. You go, oh, he shot that from Missouri, baby.
This is Dick Vitale finally. And then Chris Berman would be able to understand where the locations are. So when, the home run goes to left field and he goes, oh, back. He hit that one all the way to Blue Springs. Like, no, it's a different way. I love Berman. We used to joke about that. Like, no, that'd be right. It's the other way. You hit it to left field. It's an Independence. He hit that all the way to Springfield. No, that's
Grain Valley.
It's also the other way. He hit it to Liberty. Boom, got it, nailed it. Well done. We'll take a timeout, come back, and we'll wrap up this hour. Adam Teicher will join us at 11 o'clock. More Zone next. This year. The kickoff is now spotted at the 35-yard line.
Let's go.
Both teams will possess the ball in overtime, no matter what. It is now the regular season overtime rules are going to match the postseason overtime rules, and they have expanded replay assist. So that would be the defenseless receiver. I believe the hit below the waist on the quarterback now. Like, there were certain areas that they could go to replay assist and say this is or isn't a flag, or is not a flag. You throw the flag, it's not a flag. Or on certain things where it could be a flag if it's a quarterback that was hit, whatever. I believe that's the case. All these things with what's replay assist and what's not, it all should just be replay assist. But I do know that defenseless receiver, if there is a flag, is something now that you can get replay assist for. It would have helped the Chiefs with Trent McDuffie on the
Goddard one.
The second drive for the Eagles when they scored the touchdown. That was clearly not defenseless receiver. McDuffie was jumping and then leaned away, and Goddard got hit and then, flailed. And he would have Goddard would have been shooting 2 free throws, too, in college basketball.
He pulled a LeBron.
He pulled a basketball.
A LeBron. Jordan would never.
Yeah, there's a whole watch YouTube of Jordan, whatever. Jordan would never do that except for all the videos that are out there of Jordan doing it, but whatever. He pulled a college basketball, and he got rewarded for it. He got 2 fouls. It was they called an offensive foul. It was, or they called a block or an offensive foul, whatever.
Free throws in the NFL, they just have the guy who got penalized has to kick like a 20-yard field goal. You get 2 of those.
And the tush push is being tabled. So no pushing of tushing is eliminated. So actually you can push the tush in the NFL still. So there you go. We can push a lot of things in the NFL too. Here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels hanging out on this Tuesday edition of the show. Let's talk some NFL football, some Chiefs football with Adam Teicher from ESPN joining us here in the zone. Adam, how are you, sir? Oh, my fault, Adam. Adam, let's try that. Adam, how are you, sir?
For the second time, I'm doing fine. Jason, how you doing today?
I am doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. You know what? A very good run for Michigan State in the tournament. I had them going to the Final Four. Auburn, has been one of the best teams in America all season long. And I thought, there's an element of Tom Izzo and this team maybe exceeding expectations and going further into the tournament than maybe the talent level would suggest they would have, which there's something to be said for that, for what this Michigan State team was able to do this year, unfortunately falling a step short of the Final Four.
Yeah, I think if you look at their roster, they got some good college players, but other than Jace Richardson, really none of these guys is going to do much. None of them are going to play in the NBA. So I think they got a lot out of what their talent level is. I've been telling people all year that they just can't shoot, this team, and so I've been telling people all year that's what's going to get them in the end. There's going to be a game where they just can't overcome their outside shooting, and then you throw in their inability to finish around the rim that they had the other day. It looked like they were kind of intimidated by Auburn's size. So it was a pretty ugly ending, but still a great season. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN, and as people may know, a Michigan State Spartan. Let's talk about the NFL and the league meetings going on today. Adam, a number of things that have been approved or tabled. We'll start with the tush push. That has been the most debated one and talked about. The tush push was not approved, Adam, but it was tabled for a later date, which would probably indicate it can be discussed again in May, which is good, Adam. We get another month and a half of discussing the tush push. It seems like that's where it's headed. It seems like the forces that want to ban the tush push are going to get their way eventually. I don't know that it lives to see another season. I just don't get the opposition to it. If there are statistics out there that it's a dangerous play, that's one thing. But to say that it's not a football play, what makes it not a football play? I mean, to me, it's a quintessential football play, and as long as it conforms with the rules that are in place at the time, which it does. Why is it? I just don't understand all the uproar about this, the opposition to this. So I don't know. Maybe somebody will come up with some stats or something at some point about injuries or show that how dangerous that play might be. But other than that, I just don't get the opposition to this. What's the? I'd also like to see the study. Maybe some people have done it. I just haven't seen it. But I'd like to see the study on the Eagles' success with the tush push, which we know was really good. I mean, they call the podcast listeners the 92%ers for the New Heights podcast because of the 92% success rate. But what's the success rate on other quarterback sneaks? I mean, we know for the Bills it didn't work against the Chiefs, but they kept going to it because it wasn't stopped all season. Josh Allen was picking up a first down on quarterback sneaks all season long, and it was one of their main go-tos on short yardage situation. And then in the the playoffs and the AFC Championship game, it was stopped. The Chiefs did a great job of being able to limit that, and the Bills kept going back to it because it had worked throughout the year. Like, how much more successful is the tush push than any other quarterback sneak? Nobody has seemed to ever complain about a QB sneak before. It's just the fact that now you're pushing the quarterback from behind. So what's the added success level of that? I'm with you. I don't understand I understand it only from the standpoint that it's like, well, you can't stop it, so you should ban it. Like, there aren't any extra injuries from it. They're really good at it. They perfected a play. Not perfected it, but they've, had a lot of success with this particular play. And I'm with you. It's like, well, it's not a football play. Well, then what is? I mean, quarterback sneak, not a football play? The only difference is somebody coming from behind and pushing Jalen Hurts. It's the only difference to a quarterback sneak that we see, and nobody has ever complained about a quarterback sneak. I mean, we've given credit to, over the years, Tom Brady was so good at quarterback sneaks. We've wanted the Chiefs to run quarterback sneaks since 2019 and Patrick Mahomes' knee being dislocated in a freak accident that they've never run a quarterback sneak since. Like, we've wanted that. The only difference is somebody pushing Jalen Hurts from behind. It's a football play the same as a quarterback sneak is. I'm with you. I don't understand why to ban it.
it complies with all the rules of the game as we know them today. So, what's the problem with it? Yeah, it does seem to me that this is a little bit of sour grapes. Well, we can't do this as well as the Eagles, so let's legislate it out of the game. I don't. That's not good enough reason right there to get rid of the tush push. It's just not.
And I also I would say if they're gonna ban the tush push, then I think you have to ban any pushing of a ball carrier at all. At the goal line, if a running back gets to the 1 yard line, we see offensive linemen run and push the pile into the end zone. We see it happen in the middle of the field where, oh, look at this running back push the pile. Yeah, with 700 pounds behind him that's also pushing him, that he's pushing the pile. What's the difference between that and pushing Jalen Hurts? I mean, it's the same.
Yeah.
So if we're going to ban the tush push, then unfortunately you're going to have to ban that too.
Yeah, it seems like that's the next logical step, right? I mean, I don't see how you can ban one without banning the other. So that makes no sense at all. If one play, if the tush push is not a football play, how is it a football play if an offensive lineman pushes a running back into the end zone or across the first down line or whatever it might be? So yeah, there's some huge inconsistencies if that part of the rule, that other part that we're talking about here, pushing a running back, is not banned, but a tush push is.
Yeah. So what do you think it means if we're reading the tea leaves that, the news coming out of it is there was a heated, passionate discussion for roughly 40 minutes before they decided to table the discussion. What's your read on that they didn't just vote one way or another, that there was a lot of passion there and they decided, well, let's just give it another month and see what happens at a later date, maybe that being May when they readdress it?
Yeah, and they can do a little arm twisting in between now and then and try to drum up a few more votes. I mean, it's not going to take a ton more votes here to get that passed. If it's 16-16 right now, you got to get 24, right? So, maybe that's doable. I don't know, but yeah, I do feel like this is an ominous sign that this delay could mean that they don't assume that this means that the tush push won't be banned this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. My read on it is they feel like they have enough support that they're just going to table it because they were at a stalemate right now. They needed to get to other business at this particular meeting. They figured out that other business that they felt like they had either support or non-support, that they could figure out those things, vote, move on. With these, we'll table the tush push, so maybe we have more time dedicated to that conversation because there's enough support at least to garner further discussion. If there were like 3 teams in favor of banning it, they'd move on, and it would not be voted, and they'd go their own separate ways. But the fact that they're even tabling it for a later date tells me there's enough support that there's a decent chance, as you said, the arm twisting, that they'll get there and maybe they'll get enough to pass it. I hope not, but I think it's closer to being banned than I would have guessed, especially with no studies on injuries. And that seems to be the go-to with some of the coaches, Andy Reid included. Like, well, if there's an injury element related to this, then yeah, I can understand, them doing that. Well, no studies show that there's an injury element related to this. So
I'm with you. So,
yeah.
But I do think it's an ominous sign, and that the tush push or ban forces are, I feel like, going to come close or maybe even get their way.
Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. The kickoff is now moved to the dead ball spot. The touchback is now the 35-yard line. If the ball lands in the end zone and is downed in the end zone, or if it goes out of bounds behind the receiving team's goal line, whatever, touchback, the ball is going to be placed at the 35-yard line now. There is no modification to the onside kick. There was at least a thought of you could have an onside kick at any point in the game, just as long as you announce it. There is no modification right now to the onside kick, but the touchback is now to the 35-yard line. What do you make of this rule?
Yeah, well, there's a tipping point, definitely, for how many, how teams are going to see this, and I think this might be it. This might do it. Another 5 yards definitely would have done it. That if they moved it to the 40, then you'd never see a touchback again. So, I think it's still going to be a little bit situational, but I think you're going to definitely see more teams not aim for the end zone. They're not going to do it. I mean, I think if you you're up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and you definitely want to prevent a big play. I think you might do it in that case. If there's 10 minutes left in the game, you're up by 10 points, and you're kicking off. I think you probably would put the ball into the end zone and take your chances from the 35-yard line. But other than that, I think this is going to change a lot of teams' plans, and in more conventional situations, more earlier in games, I think you will see more kickoffs return that kick into a returnable type situation.
Yeah, visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. I worry about it for the Chiefs from this standpoint, Adam, in that obviously there's going to be more returns. Teams are not going to want to put it into the end zone and just give you the ball at 35 anymore, because those kickoffs, it was around 28, 29, 30, sort of negligible. So, all right, instead of risking them getting the ball at the 35 or the 40, they're going to return it to the 28, 29, 30, whatever. Let's just touch back and call it a day. Now, if you're talking about 7, 8, 9 yards differential between those two, I think you're going to see a lot more teams that are going to want to kick it short and have them return. My concern for the Chiefs is on the kickoff returns, I would like to see them actually have a game where they return a kick without having a flag of a block in the back or a hold on the kickoff returns. That's my biggest concern. Like, it's going to put more emphasis on the return team, obviously, but it's one of the more frustrating penalties is on a return with a block in the back or a hold. Like, it's going to come back from where you hold. If you just let him get tackled where you are, that's fine. If you hold and he gets past you, it's going to go 10 yards back from where it was, or a block in the back. It's so frustrating, and yet the Chiefs seem to do it a lot. I don't know why.
If you're asking the Chiefs to return a kick without getting a penalty, you're way out there, man. You are asking for something that's totally unrealistic. No, it does seem like they struggle with that a little bit, and maybe they have to modify how they do things a little bit to try to compensate for that. But it does add a little bit of strategy. I think there's more strategy. I like the move. I think this will it will change how things are done, and again it does add a strategical element to it. When do you decide you're going to kick, and when do you decide you're going to just shoot for the touchback?
A couple of others, and then we'll get into some Chiefs news and conversation with Adam Teicher, our guest from ESPN, Chiefs Insider. The replay assist system has been expanded now, Adam. It will now be able to reverse flags that are thrown for hits to defenseless players, fouls for face mask, horse collar, tripping, and running into / roughing the kicker. I'm good with them continuing to expand replay assist. It would have helped the Chiefs on the second drive because it was not a defenseless receiver with McDuffie and Dallas Goedert in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure that would have made a difference whether they got the call there or not with how lopsided that thing was. How close do you think we are, Adam, for the NFL and the competition committee and the teams, leagues voting on allowing the replay assist to actually institute a flag, to call a penalty on a play where a penalty was not called? Because right now, I should point out, the rules proposal to expand that is only to pick up a flag. So like Joe Burrow's face masks this year, the face mask in the end zone with the Rams, Jared Verse in that game, none of those would be changed. It would only be if there's a face mask call and it was not a face mask. If it was a horse collar call and it was not a horse collar. They wouldn't be able to go back in the Ravens AFC Championship game for the Chiefs and call a trip in the end zone on Chris Jones for a safety when it was pretty obvious that it was a trip on Chris Jones in the end zone for a safety that wasn't called because the Chiefs get all the calls. They wouldn't be able to do that. How close, Adam, do you think we are to the NFL saying, all right, now let's dabble into allowing penalties to be assessed from replay assist?
Doesn't it seem like it's headed that way?
Yes.
I feel like this is the next step towards allowing for that. And I'm sure they'll start with maybe some certain types of penalties. I'm thinking pass interference possibly that the referees maybe from their angle couldn't see, but replay clearly captures something that happens there. So, I think that is the next horizon here, and probably not that far off. I would think in the next 2-3 years at the most, you're going to see something like that. So, I do feel like that's inevitable and probably sooner rather than later.
I would say the ones that would make the most sense for me, and I'm surprised it's taken this long to get to the face mask part of it to take a penalty off the board, but that seems like the most logical one, that it's pretty cut and dry. It's a face mask or it's not. And so replay assist can go, yeah, the guy grabbed his face mask. There's no debate on that. People may get into the debate of pass interference or not. Like we know MVS against the Packers, that was a clear and obvious pass interference. Maybe that would be to where the replay assist is like, yeah, come on, that's a PI that should be called. But for the face masks that seem to be a big discussion and an annoyance this year that weren't called, especially on the quarterbacks, that would be an easier one to sort of start down that process of that, or a horse collar or a hip drop, things that are like, it takes a little bit more for the replay assist to see, and they didn't call it on the field. And yeah, that's an absolute horse collar. I'm glad that they can now go back and say it wasn't a horse collar, because I've seen that a number of times, Adam. The Chiefs have been called for a couple of horse collars that weren't horse collar tackles, and so have other teams. It's not just the Chiefs. We're just talking about from the Chiefs' perspective, things like that. So I'm glad they can take those off the board, but I feel like face mask would be a pretty easy one to institute, to dabble, and to open up that door for the replay assist to actually institute a flag and a penalty on a play.
Yeah, no, I think I think that probably would be a good one to do. My concern though is I feel like if you're going to use replay to fix some of the missed calls or bad calls in a game, don't you have to use replay to fix them all? I just feel like you're sort of picking and choosing which ones you fix. I feel like you're not. That's not what replay's supposed to do. Replay's supposed to, basically take all of the errors out. So I have a little bit of a problem with saying, okay, well, we're going to allow for these particular penalties to be overturned one way or the other, but we're not going to allow for other penalties to be overturned. I don't know about that. So, that's one of the problems I have with instant replay, is it's not maybe used to the extent that it could be.
I'm with you on that. I would like they've got the technology. I mean, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. Let's go down that route. And then last one for you on this that was not passed. It wasn't tabled or passed, so it was just simply voted against, and that is changing the defensive holding and illegal contact from an automatic first down to just the yardage for the penalty. If it results in a first down, it does. If it does not result in a first down, then that's just the down over to play. I liked the rule proposal there because I felt like illegal contact for a 5-yard penalty was a little punitive for an automatic first down. There are some that make sense for an automatic first down. 5-yard penalties on defense don't really make sense for an automatic first down. And on the offensive side, like, you get called for a holding, not only is it not an automatic third down, you get to play the down over. You get to do it again. And for a defense, you get illegal contact. Well, sorry, they just get a fresh set of downs now for that. I've always felt like that was too punitive, and I'm surprised that it was voted down without even tabling it. That seems like there isn't much, if any, support for the Detroit Lions proposal to eliminate the defensive holding and illegal contact being an automatic first down.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any team but the Lions who had brought that proposal, whether maybe it would have passed, but it looks kind of funny with the Lions leading the league and those kind of penalties last year, bringing that up. But yeah, there are that's another area where there are some inconsistencies with the rules. And I not that this is what was being discussed, but I kind of like the college rule for pass interference. When it's way down the field, it's still only 15 yards, and I know why they don't do that in the NFL. They want to prevent, an obvious grab when you're beat to prevent a big play because it's only going to cost you 15 yards. But I still think that's changed too many games, a late game pass interference that's given a team 50 yards or whatever on a penalty. So, and I know that's not what they talked about, but I feel like some of these issues, like the inconsistencies on when it's a first down and when it's not, need to be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, defensive offsides is a 5-yard penalty, but not an automatic first down. It's just a 5-yard penalty. So, visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk some Chiefs. We have some particulars, Adam, on some contracts for the Chiefs. I want to get your thoughts on some of those with Amenahu's official cap number, Nick Bolton's deal, looking a little closer at that and what it means for the 3-year deal. Christian Fulton looks like a pretty legit 2-year deal, that there's not really a 1 year and then an easy out for that. It looks like it's kind of a legit 2-year deal. So we'll talk about some of those things, and then the comments from Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan about where the future of the Kansas City Chiefs, where they will be playing their home games in, I don't know, about 6 years from now. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. June 30th is when the Star bonds expire. They could ask for an extension as long as there is substantial progress made down that road, but it seems like all parties involved would like to have something known and not have to worry about asking to go back to the legislature to vote on an extension for this when they've already done the lobbying and everything to get it approved the first time. But we know that, and Mark Donovan's saying that, hey, with the move to Kansas and putting a dome or a roof or a weatherized environment, weather-controlled environment, it makes sense only if there are Super Bowls and Final Fours and college football national championships and year-round concerts. And Mark Donovan essentially already saying that with the new stadium, there would be a Super Bowl. Do you have a feeling one way or another of, while you're living in Colorado, where the Chiefs will be playing their football 6 years from now?
Yeah, I still think a renovated Arrowhead is what is going to happen there. I thought it was interesting. The Chiefs have sort of reversed course on what can be done around the stadium. Mm-hmm. Once the Royals are gone, that's kind of an interesting little twist to me. That maybe there are some things they think they can do there that can add more value to that particular project. So I know that if everything being the same, Clark Hunt would really prefer to stay in the stadium that his father had built, so many years ago now. So my sense is still that they're going to end up at the Arrowhead site, but I'm not maybe as confident in that as I once was.
It's an interesting part that you brought up of what they could do around Arrowhead Stadium, because it's felt like for a couple of years, or however long this thing has been going on with the talks, when the Royals came out and said, yeah, we're looking to break the lease and doing all this stuff and trying to get it on the ballot. Since those things started with the Chiefs and the Royals, the common sentiment, Adam, has been, look, nothing against that area, but it hasn't been developed for a reason. Nothing against that, but it just doesn't seem to be viable for investment with what owners and what the NFL and what professional sports has become in 2025 and moving on into the future. And the decision you have to make is for 2045 and 55 and seeing what the tea leaves and where the tide is heading in the future. Those renderings left a lot to be desired for a lot of people, and they were pretty bland and generic for the renderings. But to hear now, yesterday, them say there seems to be more optimism in what they could do around the stadium for investment to have an added stream of revenue for this Chiefs organization, this franchise, to bring some money in. I did think that was of interest and something that worthy of you bringing up because that is a change, of course, on how they've talked about the surrounding area of Arrowhead Stadium when they've discussed the stadiums overall. That seemed to be one of the main things as to why they wouldn't go there. Now at least they've talked about, no, there's a possibility of what we could do to add value to that area, as opposed to just saying there's nothing we could do.
Yeah. So, I do think that was an interesting change, and might be a game changer for that area. Might be the thing that tips the thing into Arrowhead's favor in terms of keeping the Chiefs there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Something we had not heard yet from the Chiefs. Yeah,
and we need to know pretty quickly, simply because they would like to have a measure and something on the ballot in either August or November. There would need to be, especially on the Kansas side, there would need to be substantial financial private investment from the Chiefs and others surrounding the Chiefs. That private investment would have to be pretty substantial. I still think the private investment on the Chiefs with renovating should be pretty substantial as well. But I also know how it works these days, as this is the price of doing business. Do you want to be a pro city or not? Somebody will give them a great deal. We see businesses all over the country are attracted to different cities because they give them tax breaks and the land and all these other things to attract that business, and it doesn't seem to be many people complaining about that. But when it comes to professional sports, it seems to be a big complaint. But I would like to see more of a private investment there, as opposed to the $300 million that the Clark Hunt and his family, the Hunt family, was willing to invest in the renovations the first go around.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that part of it maybe needs to increase. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. There seems to be a lot of different options out there, and that makes this pretty interesting, no doubt.
Visiting with Adam Teicher, I want to talk to you about some of the contracts here as some details coming out. And it's not that it changes the tune on any of them. It actually gets me more pumped and excited for Charles Omenihu that I just – I know we've talked about this, Adam, already, but I'm just really surprised at the market for Charles Omenihu, and maybe I shouldn't have been because of the injury, but the success that he's had, and we saw him in the playoffs, and he's made big plays, and he's a guy that can slide down on the inside, he can play on the outside, he can stop the run. He seems to be pretty good at rushing the passer, and yet his cap number this year, because of the likely to be earned incentives and the not likely to be earned incentives because of the games that he played last year, he's playing under a cap hit, Adam, of only $3.7 million this year on his one-year deal. Last year he played on a cap hit of $11 million. And so it's $7 million plus cheaper for Omenihu this year. It's even more outstanding of a contract for the Chiefs. It's even more substantial to me and impactful in that you have him under. I wouldn't have guessed that you could get Omenihu on a contract for under $4 million cap hit this year. I thought he was going to sign a multi-year contract somewhere else and be priced out because of the scent of the Chiefs and the winning and the Super Bowls around him that typically drives up the price of free agents.
No, I'm with you. I think the magnitude and the potential impact of this signing, the Chiefs re-signing him, far outweigh the money they're going to give him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like this can be a really big deal for the Chiefs in terms of what he can do for them and the impact. I feel like part of the reason he didn't get the contract he was looking for from another team was that he's not played a full season in a while and needs to prove maybe that he can, and maybe this is the year he can do that. We know he missed a big chunk of that 2023 season because of the suspension, and then last year missed first 10 games or so because of the coming off the knee injury. So, I don't know that anybody wanted to invest big money into a player like that. But maybe after a big year, maybe that'll change if he can play a full season.
Yeah, visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN, and obviously that's what he's going to be banking on is, playing a full season, being impactful, and then, increasing the bank that he would be able to get in the offseason. Nick Bolton's 3-year deal, looking at the particulars with that, it's really a 2-year deal. Not much of a surprise, but what I do think is interesting, Adam, is, that third year he has a $19 million cap hit, and it's a $4 million dead cap hit, so pretty easy to move on from Nick Bolton after 2 years if you need to. You save $15 million. But it also, to me, next year, if they get into a position, that's not much of a dead cap hit, that if they wanted to restructure something to save some cap room next year, I could see them going to Nick Bolton and taking the $19 million cap hit, dropping it to maybe 15, and then adding, 4 or whatever to the dead cap hit the next year as that cap continues to rise. I think they've given themselves some wiggle room with how high the cap hit is in year 3 and how minimal the dead cap hit is for year 3.
Yeah, it is an interesting contract, and that's the first thought I had when I saw it, is that it's really a 2-year deal. But yeah, let's see what happens with it. Maybe the Chiefs, this thing gets changed at some point, and that part of it changes as well. But yeah, he's not going anywhere for 2 years at least. We know that much, right?
No, he's here for 2 years because the dead cap hit after this year would not be worth it. And the same thing with Christian Fulton. I think he's here for 2 years as well. A lot of times a 2-year deal is really a 1-year deal. A 3-year deal is really a 2-year deal, so on and so forth. But Christian Fulton, his cap hit and dead cap hit in year 2 is almost the same. I mean, it's like 12.5 and 8.5. Like, yeah, you could save some money there, but if you move on from Christian Fulton, you save $4 million against the cap, but you already have $8 million now tied up into that position. So who are you going to get that's going to be as good as whatever you may get from Christian Fulton that's already going to be charging you $8 million at that point? So, it seems to me that Fulton's on the team in 2026 as well.
Yeah, and particularly with the uncertainty over Trent McDuffie's situation. Now the Chiefs kind of control that. They can certainly do the 5th-year option on him in 2026, but Fulton looks like a pretty important guy in 2026 to me right now. So I wouldn't expect he's going anywhere.
Adam Teicher, our guest from ESPN Chiefs Insider. Adam, as always, I appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the next week, whatever will be happening. I don't know. I wish we were talking about enjoying the Final Four because I also had Michigan State in my bracket as well, but so did Dylan, had Michigan, so did Sterling. Well, that's why. Sorry, Adam. We all picked Michigan State to go to the Final Four.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're
Blame
the problem.
me.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Adam Teicher from ESPN. Adam, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother. We'll talk next week.
All right, anytime, guys.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher joining us, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, those contracts, looking at some of the particulars, I think are interesting. I would have lost a lot of money, not $3.7 million worth, but I would have lost a lot of money if you'd have said Charles Omenihu returns to the Chiefs on a cap hit that's less than $4 million on a 1-year deal, not a 3-year deal.
We
and
made that bet.
Backload. Damn it. Do I have to write the check now? Can I pay you in increments? Can I give you $1 a day for the next 3.7 million days?
We'll Bobby Bonilla this thing. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
We'll just Dodger this thing. We'll just L.A. Dodger this thing. We'll just move that money. I'm going to defer the money to 2095. Can I defer it to then? 2095?
Well, with technology and the diet I'm on right now, I feel like I might be able to make it.
That's fine, but I'm thinking by 2095, 3.7 million would be like, $5. So I feel like we're good there. So I'm going to owe you $5 in 2095. But if I paid you now, that investment of $5 could be worth at least $750.
Sterling, don't make any deals. This is why we have agents. This is why you need lawyers.
All right, Dylan, you're my agent. What should I do?
No.
Dylan.
Agree to the deferred payment of $3.7 million.
I think that's worse than not having an agent would be having me as an agent. So.
I accept.
Yes, all right. I'll
That'd
pay
be
you.
taking the best deal for me, not
That's right.
necessarily.
Yeah, that's rough for you, Dylan. You get your cut in 2095.
I
Hey,
won't
just
be
wait.
buying any houses.
Just
or
put that in your will.
Just wait. Yeah.
Put that in your will. It's fine.
Well,
your
once
family will enjoy it.
Once deflation really kicks into gear, that's going to be worth a lot.
100%. It'll be worth 100% of that. Probably not. I don't know. Bobby Bonilla would be like, I'll pay you $3.7 million now, or I'll give you a total of $15 million. That's going to start in like 11 or 12 years that you get $1 million a year, because the Bobby Bonilla wasn't just deferred payment. Bobby Bonilla was deferred payment, but they also like tripled what they were going to pay him, so he would agree to defer the payment. So, which is smart. It's one thing to be like, we can pay you in a check right now $5 million or $20 million, or we'll start in 2010 and we'll pay you $1 million a year for 20 years. No, I'll take the $20 million right now. Okay, what if we gave you $5 million now, or starting in 2010, we give you a total of $20 million, we give you $1 million a year for 20 years. Okay, I'll take that deal. Like, he didn't just defer it to take the same amount of money. He's getting paid a lot more money. It's a great deal. One of the greatest deals in the history of sports.
Iverson's deal was better.
Was it? What was Iverson's deal?
Iverson's was he got, what was it, from Reebok?
I don't know.
The agent, he got like $50 million at a, you pulling it up, Dylan? I can pull it up too. He got like $50 million from the shoe deal in like 2010 or something along those lines, because he, I believe, went broke. Oh. And then he got the shoe deal that came in because his agent was like, you're going to spend all this money unless I defer a whole bunch of it. And then he got it deferred. And then he's older and smarter and wiser, and really helped him out.
Oh, so he'd receive less annually than the $5 million average value per year, but in exchange, he'd be given a guaranteed $800,000 per year for the rest of his life, in addition to gaining access to a $32 million trust fund on his 55th birthday.
That's what it was. Yeah, the trust fund.
So once he turns 55, he gets $32 million.
He was also recently, in October of 2023, appointed as the vice president of basketball for Reebok as well. So that's still going on. I think they're probably still signing deals. And
in 6 years, he's going to get $32 million.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
He's 49 years old right now.
I love Allen Iverson.
Has anybody been anticipating and longing for their 55th birthday more than Allen Iverson?
Yeah, he can't wait for that day.
Oh, I can't wait till I turn 55.
How much money does he spend on that day? That's the real question.
I mean, I might go Brewster's million on that day. It's like,
can you spend $1 million in one day?
I could spend $1 million and have nothing to show for it, just like Brewster's million. Give me a shot. Give me a shot. I'm going to buy a stamp and then I'm going to use it, and I'm going to send it off in an envelope. I'm going to just for S's and G's. You know what I mean?
I do love Iverson, how he's basically just the fun uncle now in the NBA, where he just sits courtside. He always seems, don't know if he is allegedly, but he seems like he may be partaking in a beverage or a smoke or two, and he has those glasses on, but he's always smiling. And anytime anyone asks him about a play, he's like, I love that young guy. He's such a fun player to like. He never brings anyone down. He always is hyping up anyone that he's talking about, and I just love that about you know how many older players talk about, like, well, back in my day we would have locked him up, or he couldn't do this or do that. Allen's like, no, man, he's so fun to watch. He's outstanding. Like, he always brings people up. I love the joy that AI brings. Listen to an interview of him recently. It's fun.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone right after this. Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Les Norman coming up at noon. Get his thoughts on Chris Bubich, what he saw from him. Jonathan India, Clase, Torpedo Bats, Michael Garcia, you name it, we're talking about it with Les Norman coming up at 11 o'clock. Looking at the details again on Bobby Bonilla, just because it came up again there. But it's not till July 1st. It's not April 1st. It's not, April Fool's Day or anything. But you were talking about Allen Iverson's deal. But Bobby Bonilla in 1999, this is how this deal came about. And typically it's discussed July 1st. But Bobby Bonilla was owed...
July 1st. It says
July
April 1st.
Yes, today's April Fool's Day. Bobby Bonilla was owed $5.9 million in 1999 from the Mets. The Mets agreed to a deal where they would pay Bobby Bonilla $1.2 million annually with 8% interest starting in 2011 and continuing until 2035. The ownership believed that the $6 million that they would pay to Bobby Bonilla in 99 would be worth more if they invested it with Bernie Madoff. Now, unfortunately, the Ponzi scheme collapsed and all of that money collapsed, but Bobby Bonilla still gets his money and still gets his deal, which is $1.19 million. So it increased to almost $30 million paid over the 25 years. So $1.2 million every July 1st from 2011 to 2035. But also, I didn't realize this, all the talk about Bobby Bonilla Day on July 1st. Did you know he also has a deferred contract with the Orioles?
I heard about this. Yeah, he
that pays him $500,000 a year starting in 2004 to 2028. So he's actually, once 2011 hit, from 2011 to 2028, he's actually getting paid $1.7 million every year from the Orioles and the Mets combined. And after 2028, he only has 6 years of making $1.2 million a year from the Mets, as opposed to just $5.9 million in 1999. I mean, that's one of the greatest deals that a player has ever agreed to, is that he took $6 million and turned it into $30. Now, could he have taken $6 million and turned it into $30 in 1999 by investing it? Sure, but what if he invested it in the Ponzi scheme of Bernie Madoff? What if he invested it in real estate in 2007, 2006 or 7, and then what? Like Antoine Walker, people make fun of him for, he spent $100 million. What a dummy. How awful is he? A good portion of that was lost in real estate deals that went bad. A good portion of his wealth was real estate and other, and honestly, people that he trusted that were managers that just simply stole from him.
Because I wasn't his agent.
That's exactly right, yes. Now, it also needs to be, he spent a lot of money on family, too. He spent a lot of money. But to say that, he just spent $100 million, like, okay, would it be the same if Antoine Walker still had $40 million in real estate investments? We would be talking about it differently. Because spending like $300,000 a month on family, on houses and cars and phones for family members and friends, yeah, that's excessive. That starts to add up. But it adds up and becomes an issue when you lose tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars in real estate and other business ventures that go belly up, that are bad investments. I'm trying to invest it, and you lose. It could have been Bobby Bonilla. Instead, he's getting $30 million. It's just a fantastic deal, man. Just a great deal for him. And Iverson, the same thing, being smart enough to say, let's put $32 million in the trust so when I turn 55, I get $32 million. So no matter what is going on in my life, when I turn 55, I hit the lottery for $32 million. It's pretty legit. Pretty legit for Allen Iverson. I had the same contract with Union Broadcasting here, so I'm excited. Once I hit 145, once I get to age 145, that trust is going to hit in, and you're going to get $850. So pretty pumped about that. So I got that waiting for me. Although it's not able to be passed down to family, so that's unfortunate. I just have to live.
Was Dylan your agent again? Dylan, is that a Dylan agency? Yeah, he's shaking his head.
Yep, that's.
I knew I'd be turning roughly 30-ish around this time, so that's when we wrote it out.
It's huge, huge. It is huge. The NFL Competition Committee, we talked about this at the beginning of the hour. We'll talk with Les Norman, a lot of baseball stuff to get into, so I don't want to start a conversation with baseball here for the last couple of minutes. But just to reiterate and give you the news that happened today with the league meetings, and that is the tush push has been tabled. So I'm reading the tea leaves on this, and if they're going to table the discussion, it means there's enough support for them to at least discuss it more. They did not table illegal contact and defensive holding being just the yardage and not an automatic first down. That was just voted down.
Yeah.
And they moved on. They have tabled the tush push to a later date, which could mean the May meetings, which means they have enough support that they say it's worth having another discussion, and it's worth the next month or so of people trying to gain support on either side.
Do you think it's like the owners get up and they give like PowerPoints on their thought process?
I would love to know.
I would love to know if they're just getting up like it's a college presentation, a high school presentation. They stand up. Today I'm doing a presentation on the tush push. Here's why I think it should be banned. And they have like clip art, and they just it'd be phenomenal.
They've been practicing in front of their parents for like a couple of days
Yes.
just to try to get the presentation right. They've got it on the overhead projector.
Yes. They wheel it out and go, okay, here we go.
100%. No, it's not just on whatever they use today. I have no idea what they use today to do presentations or whatever, but back in the day, you needed to do it on the overhead projector. And
Yes.
then you'd pull the screen down so that you could do that, or they would just do it when it was really cool is when you had the whiteboard. When I got older and they went from chalkboard to whiteboard, it's like, oh my goodness, you don't even have to pull that thing down anymore. It's just the whiteboard's right there.
Hey,
you can
Clark, send us your PowerPoint presentation on the tush push. You could send it.
Well, that would be the Packers would be presenting
But
their PowerPoint.
all owners have to. They probably have a.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in there to see what, quote, heated discussions for 40 minutes or so are like with a bunch of billionaires that have never been told no before.
Yeah.
Each person in there has yes men all around them telling them how smart they are, and every decision that they make is just brilliant. And now they're in there with other guys who have always been told how smart they are. Well, you're telling me no? Well, no, you're dumb. No, you're dumb. I'm smart. I'm a billionaire. So am I.
No, I'm great, guys. How are you?
I was just
so much to talk about in baseball.
I feel like I'm at home now, and you're like, will you just stop talking? Will you just please just shut up? Like, just stop. I'm just joking. I never talk when I'm at home. 2 o'clock gets here, and I become a mute.
That's why you're here in one piece.
That's right. That's exactly right. We were joking last week. I'm like, hey, can my vote count as 2 here? Because, my vote counts as 0 at home. So I'd like to make up for the 1 and 1.
We've talked about this, Jason. You and I both, and I don't know Sterling's bride, but I'm going to assume now that married, you're in the same boat, that all 3 of us realize how lucky and how much we fooled our brides into saying yes.
She's so stupid.
And all these years later, they're wonderful and dumb at the same time. But,
No, my wife is smart.
Oh, boy.
And we're equal.
The first domino just fell.
Oh, my wife is very smart. She's just dumb in choosing me. That's all.
That's what I mean.
Smart people can make bad decisions from time to time.
Every now and then. But we legally locked them in.
Yes, that's right. Sorry.
They're legally.
That's right.
What are you going to do?
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And we got kids. Sorry. I mean, it's just.
What are you going to do? You're going to host a radio show. That's what you're going to do.
That's what you're going to do. Les Norman, breaking the norm. He is our guest here. Les, where do you want to? I'm going to, this is going to be dealer's choice. Okay, wherever you want us, we can start with Bubic. We can start with Clase in India. We can start with the Royals overall. We can start with Torpedo Bats. We can start with Rafael Devers. We can start with whatever you want to hit first. I'm open for it.
You know what? Since Dylan took care of me with the jams, and Def Leppard, he gave me choice today with that. Dylan, I'm going to let you pick.
Deferring to Dylan. It's the Dylan deferral.
Based on what he said, though.
The Dylan deferral.
You
Where
have
do you
your
want to start?
choices. Where do you want to go?
I think I want to go Chris Bubic. I think I want to hear your thoughts on a single start.
Let's do it. Chris Bubic is where we start. So we start with Rafael Devers. No. Chris Bubic is where we start.
One good lefty to a bad lefty.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. We'll talk about that, though.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But let's start with Chris Bubic because yesterday, man, he was absolutely dealing. And I'm interested to talk to you about this because Sterling brought up something interesting. And so we actually marked it on the calendar. So we've erased it now to 0 days since Sterling said something interesting. So that was good. We were up to 78, I think it was 78 or 79.
77.
77.
It was 77.
It was a record. It was the longest stretch we've gone. But he brought it up because Chris Bubic said yesterday he was working sweepers and sliders middle up in the zone. And then, playing off the fastball and things like that. And we were talking good God, how long ago did that change to where you would never think about throwing a breaking ball, a slider, or something up in the zone? It was knees and down, started at the knees and then drop it. So if they make contact, they're going to roll over. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake down. You throw a slider or a sweeper up in the zone middle and you make a mistake, that thing's 420 feet the other way. What are you doing? And so now, seeing some different pitchers go the route of, no, I'm working up in the zone with this particular pitch, or I'm throwing this curveball up in the zone, or my slider is going to be up in the zone. Sterling brought up an interesting point on, is that a counter to the launch angle, that if your launch angle is going at a certain degrees up to go and attack the lower pitch, to meet it there and to drive it out of the ballpark, if you're now working up in the zone, and the launch angle is having to reach a little bit further up, does it decrease the possibility of barreling up a pitch like that? It was a great point by Sterling, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I wanted to get your thoughts on if there's something to why we're seeing more breaking pitches. Like Chris Bubic said yesterday, getting all those swings and misses is he's working his sweeper now middle up.
Sterling was staring at a hole in my skull as you were saying. It was his point. So I think a couple of years ago that was absolutely dead on. But it's that ebb and flow and the chess match of going back and forth, because you don't hear much about angle anymore, the launch angle of things, and the science is perfectly right, Sterling. That if you're going by launch angle, if everybody's trying to change their swing into launch angle, which maybe MJ Melinda should try that. Go back and do that. Oh, that's another sidebar.
Well, so you got to make contact before angle matters.
Hey, got a hit yesterday.
You can't launch.
He's 1 for 11.
That's
now,
true.
So
it's hard to launch if you don't connect.
Right.
So
Hater.
Now that I think it's the ebb and flow to come back, guys aren't looking as much anymore because launch angle works on middle to down a little bit more. Once you get up there, like you said, it's going to be more pop-ups. But the reason I say that that's not there isn't just because people don't talk about it as much anymore. You see a lot more guys get frozen. I mean, yes, it's early, it's the season, but you see Bobby Witt Jr. get frozen. You see Salvi get frozen on fastballs up. You see catchers putting their catcher's mitt up a little bit because now it's you see the trends. I mean, you've got the nerdery on every team that follows the trends and the analytics. And so what that shows you now is for the longest time, guys were hammering that pitch. And so they're throwing more off-speed pitches up there. I think you see a lot more balls. I think in the first series at home against Cleveland, we saw a lot of home runs and deep fly balls that were foul to a lot of the righties because the wind was blowing out that way. And so I think now the trend is that pitchers are now more comfortable because guys aren't swinging at that pitch as much, or when they are, you go soft away, a breaking ball or working down, and then all of a sudden guys that are throwing hard, you zip that up and in fastball at 97 to 100, even 94 and up. I mean, who was it the other day? The guy from Cleveland was only throwing, I think in the second game that they won.
Lively.
Yeah, he was only throwing like 89 to 94. Which that goes back to my generation. I could feast on that.
And guys are still behind a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Right, because they're guessing a little bit. That's not his primary pitch, and he hides the ball well. And so, again, I think that's just a trend where guys are comfortable, but then the trend will swing back the other way. Guys will be looking at certain pitchers, maybe even to the second half of this season or into next year, where I'm looking for that pitch. And if you watch Bubic yesterday, he would get a couple of those strikeouts on that slider or curveball up in the zone that kind of backdoored. But even after he'd turn his back, they're throwing the ball around. Oh, he's got 7 strikeouts now, 8 strikeouts, now 9 strikeouts, tying the career high. But he was still going through the motion like it seemed like he wasn't getting the bite or location that he wanted to, and he kept going through the motion of trying to snap that off. And so I think even he realizes that, yes, some of those were located well, but some of those were also mistake pitches that he needs to correct. They're just facing a Brewers team right now that's kind of at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, it wasn't just, no pun intended, bottom of the barrel, but, they didn't get a lot of hard hit balls off Bubic, and they definitely didn't.
One. They had one that was qualified as a hard hit ball.
Right. And it's going to be a bad season for Milwaukee when you score 9 runs in New York and you still lose by 11 runs.
Double digits.
And we'll get into that subject later on, But again, I think it's a trend. I think it's a safer place to pitch now. I think Bubic has a good backdoor slider that can leave guys off balance. I think guys throw harder now where they're more susceptible to being surprised by a fastball up because they're not used to seeing a fastball up.
And Bubic has evolved too. That when he came up to the big leagues, he was a guy that was billed as he's got an MLB changeup already, like out of college. This guy has a professional changeup. Some of his other pitches, we'll see how those develop. But, he might be someone that's going to be working backwards a little bit because his changeup is so good. And the fastball will work based on them being worried about the changeup coming in.
Right, and that's why he got away with this fastball early on, because early when he came up, his fastball was a tailing fastball more, and he threw a little bit harder because he just reared back and threw it. And a lefty that has movement is good until he can't keep the control. Then he's effectively wild. You know what I mean? It's like Dylan's favorite line, right? You're playing darts with a shotgun. He was kind of like that. And so he's refined that and pulled back a little bit on the fastball because, again, just because you work off of a good changeup, you still got to be able to throw strikes. You can't throw a changeup every pitch because even a bad hitter with a slow bat in the 8-9 hole is going to have changeup bat speed and accidentally run into one and set the table for your top 4. So he's definitely honed that fastball, and he doesn't have to pitch backwards. He can pitch forwards. He can pitch backwards because that's how he came up. And so if his arm stays healthy, this is a great spot for him.
Yeah, he's and how he's evolved is just phenomenal to see it because it's a game of adjustments, and the book is going to be out on you. But what do you do to get better? Right? You're drafted for a particular reason, but then as you develop, the guys that can stay in Major League Baseball are the ones that, okay, well, you didn't even have this pitch, and now it's one of your better pitches. The first 3 years of his career, he was fastball, changeup, curve, fastball, changeup, curve, fastball, changeup, curve. 2023. He added a slider. He ended up getting injured, had Tommy John. Then when coming back from Tommy John, he started working on a sweeper. So then last year in the bullpen, he was fastball, sweeper, change. This year, he's fastball, sweeper, slider, change. His changeup has gone from, in the last 3 years, 25% to 17% to 10% this year is his changeup. And that was something he was throwing 35% of the time when he first came up. Like he was throwing his changeup. He was relying on that. And his fastball has gone from, spin rate is a big thing these days, but his fastball has gone from around 2,100 spin rate to now he's at 2,355. Last year he was at 2,360 is the average spin rate. So he's increased it by 200 with his fastball while developing a sweeper and not using his changeup nearly as much this year, which is just a fascinating study of evolution because this was a guy that he's going to live on his changeup. His changeup is what he's going to live on, and now he's living on his fastball. And I don't know how many pitchers we've seen evolve to a point that have gone from the fastball will only play because of the changeup to then barely using the changeup, and the fastball is actually helping him work the sweeper, the slider, the others because the fastball's become so good.
Right. So if you guys are hitters, and
I'm not.
No, just hypothetical. Okay, let's live in dreamland.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so imagine if you if you get a scouting report, you're in the hitters meeting and you get a scouting report, and okay, we're facing Bubic tonight. He's fastball slider. He's fastball changeup, or this version 3.0 of Bubic, where okay, he's got a fastball, a curveball, a slider, and a changeup, or a sweeper.
A sweeper
and
the last 2 years.
Slider, and so. It's a lot harder, right, to think about 4 pitches because, if I can go fastball and adjust a changeup because even though the good ones are still going to move, how they're going to move, right? And now what his slider is going to do. You know what his sweeper is going to do. You know what his changeup is going to do. You know what his fastball is going to do. But they're moving in 4 different ways at 4 different speeds in all different counts because he's already proven that he can pitch backwards. So when you can pitch backwards, you're not only thinking about 4 pitches, you're thinking about 8 ways at which he can pitch because it's 4 pitching frontward, 4 pitching backward. And so now you're having to deal with 8 different situations during a pitch coming in where you've got about a 1/10,000th or 1/1000th of a second to make a decision. And so would you rather go after 2 or rather go after 4? That seems 8.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting, again, it's one start, so small
Yes.
sample size. Take your drink.
Yes, I am kind of thirsty.
His 4-seam fastball has more vertical rise than league average by a pretty good margin, right? So that's what we're talking about. So
this is just from yesterday's game.
Just from yesterday. So based on yesterday's game, his 4-seam fastball has more vertical rise than league average, which makes that 92.5, 93-mile-an-hour fastball look a little quicker because it stays up high, makes people late. His changeup has more vertical break downwards than league average by a good margin as well. So then you're getting a huge variation of, vertical eye movement when the batter has no idea what's going on here. And then you look at the sweeper, and that's even more drastic as far as how far down that thing goes. As far as more drop, his sweeper has more drop than league average by, again, a pretty wide margin. So he gets a lot of movement on his pitches, which is why, again, we've talked about Carlos Hernandez for so long. It's because it's so darn straight. You look at Chris Bubic, that 93, all these pitches have so much vertical and horizontal movement to it, makes it extremely difficult to pick up.
Here's the stat that is very underappreciated that I'm surprised the people on teams and front offices that deal with the mental side of hitting don't talk about. It's vertical rise. Because again, what is the one pitch that every hitter should feed off of?
Fastball.
Always a fastball, make an adjustment. If you're really good, your timing is good, and you're landing with a soft front leg and your weight's balanced, but you do it early and you get it down and you see the ball as far away out of the pitcher's hand as you possibly can see it, even when you're on vertical rise, it only takes one time to get beat by that fastball, where all of a sudden it surprises you, right? And closer to the eye level gives you more of a chance that you're going to swing at it, and especially even if it's a bad pitch because you see it so well. It takes you one time, even if you're going well, because everything is cyclical and there's slumps, and then there's times where you're in the zone. Get it? See what I did there?
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
And so one time you could be like hit safely in 17 of 20 games, and you're hitting 380 during that streak. But one time you get your foot down and a vertical rise fastball comes in, and you realize, even if it's a ball and you don't swing at it, you realize you just got beat. Maybe not on a strike, but you weren't ready if that was in the zone. And there's something about the pride of a baseball hitter, or something about the panic and the mental part of a baseball hitter, that when you fear getting beat, all of a sudden you change everything. You tighten up. You open your front shoulder. You open your front hip. You get down early, and when you're early, and then he throws a changeup or a slider or a curve, now you're in your own head, and that's the pitch and the phrase, vertical rise, that can take hitters out of not just a game, not just an at-bat, but a zone sequence that they're in and take them right into a slump.
It's one start for Chris Bubic, but I talked about this last week after Bubic's final start, and it was against the Rangers in Arlington, and it was their lineup that he was going up against with Simeon and Langford and Berger and those guys, and he threw that day 5 innings. He gave up 5 hits. He walked 1, gave up 1 earned run, and struck out 8. And one of the things that I noted in watching that game and why there was a level of enthusiasm and excitement, tempered excitement for Chris Bubic, was because of the 8 strikeouts, fastball swinging, changeup swinging, fastball swinging, fastball swinging, fastball looking, fastball swinging, slider swinging. And of all of the swinging strikeouts, every one of them except one would have been a strike. So he was throwing strikes and guys were swinging and missing in the zone, except one, and that was to Duran, and that was the vertical rise fastball that came in just above the strike zone. It might have been called a strike, I doubt it, but it was a ball. But Duran swings at it and swings underneath of it, and that's the strikeout, the one pitch that was not a strike, that if Duran just takes it, it's a 2-2 count instead of strike 3. But Les, you've been there. That ball coming in, that's going to be a strike the whole way until you start to swing, and now it's higher than you thought, and now you've struck out.
Can't hold up. Yeah, you can't hold up. And again, anything elevated is hard to lay off of unless you're really, really locked in because you see so much of it. Now, not that you're seeing it well, because seeing a ball well isn't that you see so much of it. It's that your timing, you pick up the spin, you pick up the location, you got that proprioception going, and you feel well and, strong and quick and all those things, and you're confident. Whereas when you're lacking confidence and then you're hitting kind of from a passive standpoint and then you see it, they're seeing it well, and then they're seeing too much of it. And he saw too much of it, and that's why you can't hold up.
He talked about yesterday after the game was over of not wanting to waste pitches, that, you get into these days where, guys are looking for the strikeout, and I'm up 0-2, so now I'm going to set them up on this pitch for the next pitch. So I'm going to miss high and away, and then I'm going to come back here. Oh, shoot, I missed that pitch. Now it's 2-2. And then, I got to swing him at foul. Okay, now I'm going to work low. I missed. It's 3-2. Well, dude, you were just up 0-2. What happened? Like, we see that a lot, and there's frustrations from fans that have never pitched in the big leagues or hit in the big leagues. Like, well, how'd you lose? You were up 0-2 and you walked them. But Chris Bubic said that it's about not wanting to waste pitches. He said taking a reliever mentality. Quote, now it's, okay, I'm a reliever for 1 inning. The next inning, I'm a reliever for 1 inning. It allows me to focus on the present a little more instead of looking ahead. Quote, hey, we've got to get this number of innings and pitches today, which in reality, it's just a byproduct of what you do early in the game. And I don't know if that's going to maintain throughout the year. The book's going to get out of him. He's going to get touched up in some games.
Yep.
We may be looking back and going, hey, remember that fun conversation we had about Bubic
after one start?
When we looked at the start against the Rangers in spring training and the final tune-up, and then that first start against the Brewers, who were awful, like who knows, 3 months from now. But that sort of mentality of, well, I'm not going to save this for the 5th inning because if I don't use this, I might not be there in the 5th inning. So I'm not going to waste pitches. I'm going to attack the strike zone, and I'm going to, pitch as long as I can. But this is a 1-inning relief.
It's baseball maturity.
Yeah.
Is what it is. He's not a young guy anymore based on experience, but that's just baseball maturity. And when you have a thought process like that, and you know that he understands the game and takes that approach and can almost trick himself into thinking, okay, I'm not really starting, I'm just relieving for 1 inning, even though he started it, that makes a manager and an organization stay with you longer. Because when you understand it and you're not injured and you have the physical ability to make those corrections, they're going to be a little more patient with you. And even as hitters, that he's going to be there for you. He's going to have those bad games, but he understands the game. And again, when you're pitching to a guy like Sal Perez, who understands the game, and then eventually a catcher like Freddie, who is under Sal Perez and learning from him every single day for the last few years, I think it's a great combination. Just it really is. You got a mature guy who's coming off an injury, and guys that are relievers that are now coming into starters after an injury. I mean, that just goes to show you got something special there.
When did Cal Eldred leave and Brian Sweeney take? Was it 2023?
In my mind, 8 years ago, but
because if it's 23, there's a really interesting conversation to be had, especially in regards to Chris Bubich. Because
2022. So 2022 was the last season he was the manager, or he was the pitching coach for the Royals.
So then he took over in 23. Then Sweeney did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Bubich completely cut out the curveball, which was his worst pitch by a pretty wide margin. It was brutal. He then picked up, obviously the sweeper was in 24, but if you look at his vertical movement, horizontal movement, but specifically vertical movement, you look at the changeup that was already good, it has gone off from 23, 24, then now to 25.
Yeah.
You look at the four-seam fastball. Four-seam fastball went from pretty darn bad. 23 was average when he took over. Then 24 into 25 has become. You look at some of the more analytical side of things. You can see just again, Brian. A lot of credit goes to Chris Bubich, but look at what Brian Sweeney did versus Cal Eldred.
Yeah, you got to have great people around you.
In 2023, he only threw like 250 pitches.
100%. But
so you didn't really have a season to work with Bubich there. Bubich got there in spring training working with him, and then Tommy
but to
John.
Sterling's point, your foundation's laid.
Yeah.
Based on what your pitching coach is doing with you and understanding you and the analytics of it.
And so all the underlying numbers just scream that there was a complete shift in what Bubich did that, again, coincides with the pitching coach change. Obviously, Chris Bubich has to put the work in, but we talked in the first hour, we talked about just the coaching has just changed and evolved in Kansas City, and Bubich is such a great example, and it's why this looks to be sustainable and not a blip. You look at the underlying numbers again, it's just, it's a lot of red from last year into this year with Chris Bubich.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We are breaking the norm with Les Norman, presented by TruckMovers.com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Intent, no intent, irresponsible, automatic punishment, all these things that have sort of come from that Sunday night, ninth inning, Class A, working high and in, back-to-back pitches, and ear-holing Jonathan India. And then, of course, there's the India part of it to demanding to be in the lineup the next day. Not just saying I want to play, as not Cole Reagans, but Matt Cotrero said he was adamant he was going to play today.
Tone setter.
Yeah. Adamant he was going to play today, and that allowed me to then say, yeah, he's going to play. It's how adamant he said he wanted to play. So, I can't like Jonathan India more than I do right now.
Well, you can, but they'll arrest you.
I can't imagine I would like India more than I do right now. Now, as the season goes along, then maybe it becomes more and more endearing, and he's like, good God, I like him even more than I thought. But right now, he's getting on base, and he's a freaking gamer and a baseball player, and he was viewed as a leader of the clubhouse with the Reds, and you get a pretty decent idea of it now because he takes one to the face and demands the next day, I'm playing baseball today. I'm going to be in the lineup, and I'm going to be batting first. Oh, and I'm going to get 3 more hits. They just came high and inside at 99, and I'm going to dig in and put the barrel on the ball and get 3 more hits against big league pitching. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. Jonathan India in the lineup yesterday, 3 for 5, couple of runs scored after taking the 99-mile-an-hour pitch from Clase to the ear hole and looking like something was really wrong as he was walking off the field holding his jaw. He said yesterday before the game, quote, "That was a tough one yesterday. It was very scary, but lucked out. Nothing was wrong with my face. I was able to play. I wanted to play, and they let me." India said that he was pissed afterward, but once everything checked out medically, he knew he wanted to play the next day because that's who he is as a player. And he said it wasn't hard for him to focus when he stepped into the box in the top of the first inning Monday. Quote, I've been hit in the head before. It's part of baseball. Pitchers, when they throw high and in like that, they should get reprimanded for that. But it's part of baseball, I guess, and that's what happened. Salvi then saying that Emmanuel Clase texted him to apologize, to say that there was no intent behind the pitch. The pitch slipped out of his hand. It was cold. He said, quote, "He reached out to me and said there was nothing on purpose. It was cold that day. The ball slipped out of his hand. He apologized a lot. Everybody, a lot of guys from Cleveland reached out to me, especially the way the situation was. They wanted to win the game. I've known Clase for a little bit. He's not that kind of guy. It's a scary situation for everybody. I don't want nobody to get hit in the head. Even today, Yelich, it was close to him in the third inning. I don't like that. We're just here to compete, have fun, play the game the right way, play hard, and see what happens at the last out."
That is called eyewash.
So there's the commentary from India, from Salvi, and what Clase said. Q said the Guardians coaches reached out and said there was nothing intentional about it. Vinny Pasquantino had a cooling off period before he dropped an expletive about, I don't know if you've heard that or not.
I have not heard that.
You know what? Play the Vinny. We got to play it here because it's so awesome, the commentary. And we will remind people this, after the game, was after Vinny was given a cooling off period at his locker in the clubhouse when the media was ready to talk to him. And they were like, "Yeah, he's give him a second. He's still pretty high emotions from watching Jonathan India get hit in the face." So, Les, hearing this is after Vinny was cooled off, giving this commentary.
My view of it was watch him get hit in the face, and I'm still kind of collecting my thoughts on it, but he threw a pitch that he doesn't ever throw, the pitch before, which was a four-seam fastball. It was his first one of the year. And then the next pitch, they, trying to come back up and in with the next pitch. And I get it. You're trying to let a pitch ride, and it didn't. And it hit him right in the face after almost hitting him in the face the pitch before. So obviously I'm upset by it. I'm more upset for John because, we don't know what's going on with him right now. So it sucks. And I don't think there's any – do I think there was intent behind it? Absolutely not. He's trying to go close a ball game, finish a ball game. It did happen, and that sucks a lot. And it felt like there was a lot of and again, scouting reports, different ways of pitching. You got to own the inside part of the plate. It felt like we were moving quite a lot this weekend. Again, I know there wasn't any intent behind it, but felt like there was no adjustment made there, and that's frustrating. But again, they beat us. Hats off to them. Just it's a sucky situation.
What do you mean we were moving quite a lot? What is that?
I just felt like there were some pitches that were getting away from guys. Felt like Bobby was moving quite a bit. Again, I'm collecting my thoughts after a tough game, after a tough weekend. So we're not happy with it, but we got to do a better job of winning ball games and not worrying about stuff like that. So.
Do you feel like there's something brewing between the two teams, or is there chatter going on, or is there anything that makes you feel like it's just more than 3 ball games?
I hope not. That's not why we play this game. I hope not. So I didn't feel anything coming from our end. We weren't hitting guys up and in this weekend, so it just sucks. I hope that isn't the story of this game, because it was a hard-fought weekend. 2 really good ball clubs getting after it. 2 teams that see each other a lot. So I hope not. I hope the next time we see them, it's a clean very clean series. Because I think that's the fun part about us playing the Guardians. It's two very similar teams, two very good teams, and I hope that's the focus of the next series, not something like this.
I'm going to guess that something like this is going to be the focus of the next series, especially the first game. What do you make of those comments? Obviously, Vinny was still heated. Again, that was after a cooling off period. I just watched somebody get hit in the bleeping face. He said multiple times there was no intent. I don't believe there was any intent to it. It just felt like we were moving a lot this weekend, and we didn't necessarily have them moving. Essentially when we were on defense, they weren't doing that, but we were a lot. Some pitches maybe got away from some guys. What do you make of those comments and what you saw with Clase? He threw one four-seam fastball all of last year. He threw one four-seam fastball so far this year. That was to Jonathan India right before throwing the two-seamer that rode there into his helmet.
Yeah, I'm calling BS in the whole deal. I'm going to throw that out there. Now, I'll preface that by saying I don't think that Clase meant to hit him in the head. I do think he meant to drop him on his back. Absolutely. Come up and in, not to hit him. But again, you have to be accountable for the fact that you threw up and in because you're trying to get someone to drop down, to knock him on their back, to make him go down. And so a ball that slips out of your hand hits the backstop, hits the net. It goes 5 feet behind the guy. You bury it 42 feet in the dirt. The ball didn't slip out of his hands. He just didn't throw it where he was exactly trying to throw it. And granted, that does happen. So I'm not saying that Clase is a scumbag or something like that. That's not what I mean at all. But what I am saying is that if you want to come up and in and drop a guy, okay. But let's remember, what did the Royals do to Clase the game before?
He charged with a blown save.
Yeah, and who hit the double?
Was it India?
It was Vinny.
Oh, Vinny, okay.
It was Vinny. So Vinny is a fiery guy. He's a leader in the clubhouse, and he's the guy that made Clase look bad after all of that.
It was Vinny because he ripped the one just foul the first pitch.
Yeah.
And then the second pitch he ripped it down the right field line.
Hit the double down, and if he elevates it by a millimeter on the bat, it's in the corner for a home run.
And if Massey lowers it a centimeter on the bat, it's a walk-off.
Absolutely.
Against Clase.
So Clase, granted, early in the season, he didn't have his best stuff, but the Royals stuck it to him, and he wasn't used to that. He was on the road. So I think he threw up and in because he was a little bit bitter. Now, again, I'm not in his emotional headspace. I don't know. But I think he was trying to throw a fastball up and in to say, okay, well, now this is going to be a league enemy here, so to speak. He throws up and in. He wants to send a message. He's still ticked off that he got touched the day before and didn't pitch well. And so there you go. And it got away from him. So, sure, he sent a text because that's what you do. Probably in the clubhouse, he's like, I didn't mean to try to hit him in the head, but I was trying to knock him on his back. That's what I believe. And, of course, there's people on the Indians over there that are saying, oh, man, we hope he's okay because you're going to have to face Ursig. You're going to have to face Estevez coming up in the series. And is there going to be bad blood? Well, there is now because that's the crap that you do. And so the Royals will remember it. Everybody will say the right things. And yes, you don't. The thing that makes me mad isn't that he came up and in or even that he hit him in the head. It's just that by accident, you're messing with a guy's life, number one, and you're messing with a guy's career, number two. So, look, if you're mad because you got lit, pitch better. If you want to throw it up and in, okay, then you throw 100, fine. But if you throw 100 miles an hour and you're up and in, don't throw at the guy's head. Throw toward the hip and just throw inside. And then if you hit a guy, you hit him, you bruise his hip, and then he limps back to the dugout or first base. So, yeah, I don't believe all the rhetoric that's going on there. I'm glad that Vinny's fired up. I love the fact that it was when he was going off the field and they came out to get Jonathan India, he had that look like he looked back. If you notice, he looked back at Clase. He didn't say anything. He didn't mouth anything. He just looked at him like, I know what you're doing, and we're going to get you back, whether it's your team or whatever. The thing that always bothers me is that Clase doesn't have to grab a bat and stand in there and face 100 miles an hour. I wish if it would never happen, but wouldn't it be great if a pitcher then automatically has to lead off the next inning and face Ursig and say, hey, I'm coming up and in. Hit it.
That's what
see what happens.
Maddox talked about. It was like somebody with the Braves got hit, and because it was a story that he told about hitting Jose Canseco. It was like, and he was like, "Look, man, he was the next guy up."
Yeah.
And I asked whoever it was that got hit, he said in the dugout, he asked him, do you want me to do something? The guy said, bleep yes.
Yeah.
So we went out there. Canseco was up there, pegged him in the leg. Canseco dropped the bat, went to first.
Yeah.
And Maddox was like, I mean, people want to talk about Canseco all they want. Canseco was a ball player. He was a professional. He knew what was going on.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to charge the mound. He knew the deal. He dropped the bat, put his helmet down, ran to first because that's the deal. He probably knew it was coming. But that was my point that I made on Monday, Les, is I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know. He can say it wasn't, and other people could say it wasn't, because I think as a ball player, there is a line that you give after a game to the media of it wasn't intentional. Even if you were the one that was hit. You can't come out and say that was intentional, they did it on purpose. So you do the baseball fraternity thing and go, look, there was no intent to it. It happens. It's baseball, but it sucks. I'm pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't intentional, what are you pissed off about? Well, I think if they come high and inside like that and they hit you, they should, there should be some sort of a consequence. Okay, well.
I think when you get hit in the head with a fastball, now if it's a curveball,
Yeah.
that's different. But if it's a fastball and you get hit in the head, there should be some kind of repercussion.
Yeah.
There absolutely should. And I know we're all human, and sometimes people get hit in the head and there really isn't. But you got to check the surrounding situation. Again, he's a closer who just got lit the day before.
Well, that was.
And you don't normally throw that pitch.
Well, on Monday, what I said is I don't know if there was intent or not. But if a guy like Clase, who is so dominant against almost every other team in the league, the Royals for some reason he doesn't blow a save every time out. He'll go 1, 2, 3 in his ninth inning against the Royals. He's still Clase. But the Royals seem to be a team that puts runners on, makes it a little bit more interesting in the ninth inning. Damn near walked him off the other day, on opening day with Michael Massey. In his last 9 games against the Royals, he's thrown 8 innings, and he's got 8 hits and a walk. There have been 10 base runners against Clase in his last 9 games in 8 innings. That's a whip over 1. He's got a whip of like 0.5. Okay, so it's like double against the Royals. In his last 9 times against the Royals, he's got 4 saves against the Royals and 2 blown saves. In the last 2 years of teams that he's gone up against last year, at least 10 batters faced, there were 12 teams. The Royals have the 4th highest whip. They have the 3rd lowest K per 9, and they're the only team with multiple runs scored on them, and 9 blown saves in that time, 2 of them against the Royals. And the only team to have 2 blown saves against is the Royals. So all of that being the case, 2 outs, 9th inning, up by 4, last game of the series. If I were to hit somebody and say, stop getting comfortable against me there, Royals, that would be the situation I would do it. Because we don't have to see him for 13 more days.
That's right. And you're sending a message for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because it's a division rival.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
I'm
what it is.
I'm a little tired of you guys being able to hit off me and being a little too comfortable in the box against me. So
again, I don't
13 days.
I don't get on Clase for trying to come inside and knock a guy down. But that's the risk you run, and that's where there should be a consequence of hitting somebody in the head. I'm a hitter. I don't like it. I mentioned in the break we were talking about one time in Double-A this hitting streak I had. The day that it ended, I had a 19-game hitting streak in Double-A one year. The day that it ended was the fact that the first at bat, the guy threw up and in, and he didn't hit me, but he made me uncomfortable, and I didn't hit a ball hard the rest of the game. I walked once, but I was 0 for 3 with I think a strikeout and a couple weak ground balls. So he wasn't better than me physically, but he got in my head. He made me mad, and so you know what? He won. He's the guy that figured it out, but he didn't hit me again. He didn't hit me in the head. Had he hit me in the head, I might not have been able to stay in the game. Who knows? But there's a difference between the two.
What should the punishment be then for drilling someone in the dome? I mean, we talked about it. We don't think it's on purpose. We all agree that we think it was more of a mental side of, hey, I'm trying to brush him back. I'm trying to.
I'm not. I'm not on the side that I know that it wasn't intentional. I'm on the side of I don't know what was in his mind. It might have been intentional. Not necessarily hitting him in the head.
Sure.
The ball might have got away from him hitting him in the head, but he already brushed him back with a 4-seam the pitch before.
Yeah. Sure.
He already made his point.
So
then he did it again with a pitch that rides in on that guy.
On purpose or not, what would the punishment be? We talked about the only reason why it'd be difficult is you're Mo Vaughn in that thing then. If you get a dude suspended right?
Yeah.
You would just crowd the plate because
they
now
can't come high and inside anymore because
Right.
they're going to get suspended. So now I can lean out over the plate and I
Right.
can own the inside
Well, to
part of the
avoid
plate
that,
now.
it's got to be financial.
Yeah.
And some of those guys, if it's not a big fine, it's not going to be a big deal or something like that. Okay, if Classe is making $20 million a year, I don't know what he's making a year. I'm just saying, for example, I know you're going to look that up, but regardless of that, if it's a monetary fine without suspension, because if there's suspension, you ride the plate, sure. And I don't think that because then that's going to cause pitchers to not maybe, if they get suspended, they're not going to want to pitch inside, and that's an unfair advantage to hitters. And I'm a hitter, so I like unfair advantage to hitters. But I think that if anything, it has to be either some part of the game that I don't know what. I mean, MLB tinkers with the game all the time, and so it is what it is.
Visiting with Lesnar. Go ahead.
he makes about $4 million a year.
Okay.
It was a 5-year, $20 million contract, but $4 million AAV. They bought it as arbitration.
Okay, so there you go. Let's take a timeout. Well, you know what? Real quick. 30 seconds. We'll take up time. I want to get your thoughts on torpedo bats. So I don't want to torpedo this segment by then talking about that. What does it say to you about a guy like Jonathan India that demanded to be in the lineup the next day?
Based on the gestures that we made that nobody can see, that's
I believe Major League 2 might have had those gestures.
Marbles.
Eddie House.
So
Marbles?
I think
Huevos?
that what we heard, the type of player that Jonathan India was, proved it right there.
Yeah.
I'm not. Listen, Q, love you, but this is why you brought me in. I have no breaks. I have no fractures. I have no swelling. I didn't make this consistent contact. Let's go. And then you come out and you get 3 hits. That's what I'm talking about. If the Royals can't see that and jump on that flipping bandwagon, I don't know what is, because that's the type of team, Kansas City, that you have right now, and that's a team that you should get behind.
Yeah, Annie Rogers said this morning as we take a break on New Day, said when they traded for Jonathan India, talking to some of the Reds beat reporters about Jonathan India, and they said, well, the only time he's pissed off is when he's not in the lineup. So
I love it,
That's
man.
the only time he's maybe a curmudgeon is when he's not playing that day. And we saw that yesterday. I'm playing, and Q saying after the game, he was so adamant of playing that I wasn't going to keep him out of the lineup. I'm playing him. He was good to go.
Just real fast, and then we got to take a break.
Yeah.
There was a scene in watching the game yesterday where Vinny was sitting there chewing a sunflower seed and leaning on the rail, and 5 feet to his left, India was on the rail. And Vinny had said something, and then there was this weird silence. The camera stayed on both of them. And then India slow turned and just looked at Vinny, and he was looking around, and he just had a look on his face like it was that moment where you're like, that dude would break his own neck for that dude, and that dude would break his own neck for that dude, and both of them would break anybody's neck for each other. It was just one of those moments where, man, you could see the camaraderie and the nonverbal communication right there. And some of the best teams I ever played on that I will always miss are playing with guys like that.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll talk about guys playing with torpedo bats coming up next. Kansas City. Todd Lebo will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. Less torpedo bats. I'm actually looking online for a Marucci torpedo bat for my son. I'm very excited about this. It's a drop 10. Drop 10 torpedo bat. Anyway, what are your thoughts as a major league hitter seeing these oddly shaped baseball bats, these torpedo bats?
So back in the day, there was like the P-72 was the leanest barrel. There was the M110 that had the fattest part of the barrel started a little bit sooner, but it was uniform all the way down to the end. The C-271, which was the Ken Griffey Jr. model, which is the one I liked, where it was equally balanced, and you had a medium to smaller handle, but a gradual rise in the barrel, and they were different, and that was when bat companies besides Louisville Slugger were just coming out entering the market, and now there's so many and technology and look, here's the deal. Most people don't like the Yankees, or some people do, who knows? I mean, if it's a limited number in the Midwest that like the Yankees, they're just going to be more vocal. Look, I'm not a Jazz Chisholm fan because I think he just creates stuff just to create stuff, and he runs his mouth. But again, he's a better baseball player than I am, and a better hitter and infielder. And so, look, here's the bottom line. I think it's more of the Brewers were throwing too much of the fat part of the plate. The Yankees have Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt and Jazz
Aaron
Chisholm.
Judge doesn't use the torpedo bat.
No.
And he's got Goldschmidt does, but
Right.
Judge does not.
But Goldschmidt's near the end of his career, and he's older. His bat slowed down. And can we talk more about the bandbox that they play in?
Well, that too.
I
Yes.
mean, my high school baselines were 330. At Yankee Stadium, I think it's 318 to left and 314 to right.
Austin Wells has 2 home runs. One of them is a home run in 1 ballpark, and the other one I think is a home run in 8 ballparks.
Yeah, so
and he's got 2 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not. If it meets major league specifications, people can hate all they want. But again, it meets baseball specifications. So you have to really think: are you being a Yankee hater? Are you being a ballpark dimensions hater? Because the bottom line is, if every big league stadium was uniform dimensions, then it would be a level playing field. Stop throwing the ball over the middle of the plate when you play at Yankee Stadium.
The players used it last year. Like, there's a couple,
Yeah,
like a
the
handful
Cubs,
of people.
Cubs used it last year. Dansby Swanson used it last year. Nico Horner used it last year.
And what did Dansby
Cody
Swanson
Bellinger
hit last year? 240?
Yeah, I don't because people are talking about, well, Dansby Swanson, he's 5 for 22. He's got a home run and a double. Yeah, but he used it last year too. Like Nico Horner used it last year. He's 3 for 12 this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the dimensions of the stadium and the bad pitching for the Brewers.
Francisco Lindor uses it this year, and he's pretty damn good, and he's 0 for 11 to start the season. So
Well,
it's not everybody just doing it.
Ellie De La Cruz switched to it
Last night
and hit 2 home runs, a double, and a single.
4 for 5, a double, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. He was a triple away from the cycle, and 4 of his hits were all over 105.
Could also be to Les's point, though, of like confidence, where like you just saw all these guys hit home runs, and you're like, oh, that could be me.
But it could also be that Ellie De La Cruz hits a lot of balls over 100 mile an hour exit velocity. So see, to me, it would be different if it was like Ellie De La Cruz hit one 122 miles an hour, and it's the fastest in the StatCast era. Well, no, he had one at 103, 105, 106, 109.
Great point.
That's what Ellie De La Cruz does, and to your point, it might just be like, oh, I got this confidence. I'm going to swing, and I'm going to hit this thing, so maybe you're seeing the ball a little bit better.
But you're not thinking about what the pitcher's going to throw.
Yeah.
You're looking for a pitch that you can hit, which is what you should be doing in the first place.
Yeah. It's odd because Volpe and Austin Wells have 4 hits combined this year, and all 4 of those hits are home runs. Volpe has 2 hits, 2 home runs. Wells has 2 hits, 2 home runs. But again, Lindor's 0 for 11. Ryan Jeffers, that kills the Royals, is 1 for 8 using the torpedo bat. Jose Trevino's 0 for 5 with Cincinnati, this year. But also, he's a guy that batted .215 last year. So
and right now, Rafael Devers doesn't matter what he's using.
Oh my goodness, man! Maybe he should be using what Profar was using.
Tennis racket.
He should use a tennis racket. That's right. Oh man, Devers has 19 at bats, 15 strikeouts. I think they said that Tony Gwynn went an entire season with 15 strikeouts. That Devers ended the last season last year with the final 26 games. He struck out 34 times last year in the final 26.
Yeah, that's a rough start, man.
And now he's got all these strikeouts this year. But he's not making anything, right? Isn't he working for free? Oh, wait. He's making a ton of money. Thank you, Les. our Chiefs insider from ESPN, the league meetings going on the last couple of days, and the news with the competition committee and the owners voting on some of those rules proposals. They have tabled the tush push to a later date, which means probably in May. The next meetings, they could talk about it, discuss it. So there is no vote on the pushing of tushes in the NFL right
now.
now.
Enough time to get to it, man.
Nope. Apparently they had too much time. It was wasting time. Yeah. They spent 40 minutes of a, quote, heated discussion where they said, we need to stop this and vote on other things, or we're going to be here.
We're going around in circles.
So let's table this, which means to me that they clearly have enough support to where they think there's a chance it'll pass. Or
people
they would have just voted and said, look, there's only 5 of you. Shut up. We're voting.
Must be some both sides going on this.
It's a lot of, I think if it's 16-16, you take a month and try to see if whichever side, or if you want to get it passed, can get 8 more votes, get to 24 by the next time. Because I think if we get to May and they're doing it again and it's still the same teams on each side, then freaking vote and vote it down, because you need 24 teams. If they had enough on either side, they would vote. So right now, it'd be done. They voted for defensive holding and illegal contact to remain an automatic first down defensively. They voted on that. So they had support there. They voted on the kickoff rule being moved to the 35. They had support there. They voted on expanding replay assist. They had support there. They did those. They got those done. They figured those things out. They voted on overtime in the regular season. It's now both teams will possess the football.
I like that.
Yep. It stays at 10 minutes. The proposal was 15 minutes, but they amended it to vote on it to keep it at 10 minutes in the overtime period. Those are the things that got passed. Tush push did not get passed. Tush push got tabled. And one more thing got the wild card and the divisional who gets the home game has been tabled as well. I agree. Just it's the division winner gets the home game. That has been tabled as well.
Yeah.
So clearly there's enough support to where they want more time to dedicate just to the tush push and the divisional seeding.
All of the things that probably
Playoff
will
seeding.
have a bigger effect on the game, the tush push, it's really like one team.
One team.
And it's a couple of times a game. It's just not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So I think the kickoff rule will affect the league greatly, because they're moving this thing back. We will get more returns.
A lot more returns. The average starting position on returns was like the 28 or 29-yard line.
Yeah.
So if that's what's going to be the case, we're going to keep doing what we're doing and save 6 yards.
Yeah.
And then if they get a holding penalty, we might have saved 20 yards.
Yeah.
Rather than just giving the ball to 30.
I think that will affect the game a lot, because there are kickoffs every game, and I think that, and I think if you're, listen, if you want to just kick it through the end zone or whatever, then fine. If you think your defense is good enough, but these guys love every yard.
Yeah.
So I think that'll make the game more fun.
Yep.
They learned that it wasn't enough to give them the ball at the 30-yard line. 35 is better.
And what'll have an impact on the playoffs is if they reseed based on record, as opposed to you win your division, you get a home game. Clearly there's some support for that too. So that's why they're tabling it, which just keep it as it is. You win your division, you win your division.
I think you should. The division should matter. I mean, it should matter.
Yeah.
And who cares? Every once in a while, the team's got a bad record.
Yeah. And every once in a while, you play in a tough division.
That everyone's got a bunch of wins. Yeah,
because
it happens.
Because if you play in a division and you lose by a game, and there are 2 teams in your division that are crap, and you went 4-0 against them, and you're playing another division in your conference that's crap, and you went 4-0 against them, and your cross-conference team is awful, and you won a game against them.
That's basically what happened in the NFC North last year.
And then you've got another team in a different division that wins the division against 3 stud teams, and they have 10 wins, and they played another first-place schedule, and they played another division in their own conference that was also really good.
Harder to get to 10 than it is to get to 11 or 12 sometimes.
This team that got the easier schedule, they didn't win their division, but we're going to give them a home game over this team that was had to earn the 10 wins to win the division this year. No, it's not the college football playoff where you have a committee seeding teams.
Right.
It's a little bit different when it's just we're seeding an entire tournament for the whole country.
I think the NFC North last year played the AFC South. So they got that.
Oh, God.
And then the Bears were bad, right? And so everyone beat the Bears, whatever. So, they had some inflated records. They were fine teams.
Yeah.
Fine teams. But, it's just a crapshoot every year on that if you're playing some division happens to be good or bad or whatever. I think the Chiefs' schedule next year is going to be a bit of a bear. They're playing the NFC East. The NFC East, we make fun of the Cowboys or whatever, but, Washington is much better.
Yeah.
Philly is the champ. The Giants stink. But, they're
Cowboys will be picked to win the division.
Probably. But they also get the South this next year, the AFC South. That'll help, but it's cyclical. You just don't know what the division's going to be like.
It is. I mean, I don't know if I should be surprised or not. It's surprising to me that so much of the oxygen around the rules proposals has been about the tush push.
Well, it's a champ, and it's a play it's not unstoppable. But matter of fact, it's the numbers every year have gone down about a percent. But it's still
I just
a very
wonder
good play.
how close are they getting to the average percentage of a regular quarterback sneak picking up? Like once that gets like almost indiscernible between
Chiefs
the difference
haven't had
there?
a quarterback sneak in 5 years, 6 years, so I don't even know.
Chiefs are 0% on quarterback sneaks.
Or 100. They
and
haven't
100%.
tried.
Since
I mean, they got the
2008.
first down, the one he got hurt on.
That's right. Darn right.
Looks like Yale did a thing, and it's 82.8% on
Regular QB sneaks?
Just
QB
regular
sneaks.
QB sneaks.
It's much better than that.
Yeah. But what is it like, say, for instance, a really big quarterback like Josh Allen? It was awesome this year until the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game were able to slow it down or
they
stop
screwed
it.
that.
Well, and also, it's not.
true.
We're looking at all tush push rate, not just Eagles, because Eagles would make that a little higher, right?
The Eagles, they said they were what? They
91.
called themselves the 92%.
But they're not anymore. They're lower than that.
Not without Jason Kelsey.
Looking on Reddit right here, it looks
That'll be
like
the-
that'll be right.
the Eagles' success rate was over 90% in 2022, 88.1% in 23, then 82.4% in 24. Which
They were only
what did I
82
say? 82.4% is the exact same
Going
as
so there you go.
QB sneaks.
So it's dumb.
It's dumb.
I think it's more worthwhile to talk about expanded replay assist and how close are we, Todd, or are we a step away from expanded replay assist to then saying, actually, we're going to implement a flag on this play? Because right now they can only take a flag off the board.
Right. Can't put one on.
They just included, so they voted to include defenseless receivers, face masks, and then roughing and running into the kicker. If there is a flag for face mask and it wasn't and horse collar. But there has to be a flag for those. They will not, like, people were complaining about Joe Burrow this year. He got like 3 or 4 face masks that weren't called. The one in the end zone by Jared Verse. Was that the Vikings they were playing? And Sam Darnold got his head ripped all the way around. It was like
see it, yeah.
exorcism, and they didn't call it.
Jared Verse had his hands on
It was
his
like,
head.
oh no,
and
I
he was
just
yeah.
just gave him a first down. They couldn't replay assist to call a face mask there.
Right.
My question is, as they continue to expand replay assist to what they can take off the board, how close are we to them going, you know what, we're going to dip our toe in the water and face mask.
Well,
if there's an obvious face mask, we will implement a 15-yard penalty.
You can open up a Pandora's box there, because you have to say, are you looking specifically for this? Because we got the face mask.
Yes.
Boy, look at this monstrous hold that's happening, or this trip that's happening.
Yeah,
you
his
know,
face
in the
mask on the
background.
defense, but look, he's being held. That's why he reached out with his arm, and he's
Yeah.
being pulled down, and he ripped the face mask. You're going to implement 15 yards, and it was
Sounds
a
like
10-yard penalty on them.
Speed
No
this game
penalties at
up.
all.
Doing a good job.
No
of speeding it
penalties.
up.
It's a free
Prison
for all.
rules. Prison rules.
It's a Thunderdome.
I love it. Prison rules there. Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe I don't know if is there a challenge system for a penalty? Can challenge a penalty that
I mean, like,
our guy
also-
was face mask, so we'll use our one penalty challenge today in this game. Like, I don't
Well,
know.
they can complicate it, sure.
My
Sure.
frustration also with this is
Great.
you had the rule to review pass interference, which is a massive penalty because it's
It's just too hard.
It's a spot foul, though.
Yeah.
You can take a team from the 30-yard line and put them all the way in the red zone because
Yeah.
of a spot foul. But we wanted to review that, and they almost torpedoed it.
Yeah.
To torpedo bats, but torpedoed
they did it.
on
Word of the
purpose,
day.
where you would get to the replay, and it
Never
was
overturn it.
okay. This is obvious. This is clear. It should take no time, and they would come back. Nope, it all stands.
Nope, all stands. Like, I don't think they were overturned any of those
No.
calls.
Yeah, it was
And those are
very-
much more
way more
game changing than
Yeah.
a hold or a
It's also tough
5-yard.
to call, too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I said.
that
It's too much of a judgment. Like, face mask is pretty clear.
pretty clear.
It's either
but I
face
still,
mask or not.
And I've been a proponent of having a 5-yard and a 15-yard face mask like they used to be in college, but they don't want to do that because some of them really shouldn't be 15 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a difference in a face mask. There's the Sam Darnold turn your head, or
Yeah.
ooh, I brushed your face mask and my little pinky touched it,
and your
it
head
didn't do
moved
anything. Yeah.
1 or 2 inches to the left, and then
It had
went
no
right
effect on
back
the
to
play.
the yes. Yeah,
so
there's a difference there.
it's complicated, and there's a lot to talk about. And these are what these people sit in these meetings and talk about.
Because when did they change the rule to every face mask was 15 yards?
It's been a while.
From the face mask and then personal foul face mask.
Yeah, inadvertent face mask.
Yes, and then personal foul face.
personal
When did
foul
they
face
change? I can't remember when they changed the
5,
rule.
10 years.
Oh, it's way more.
It's been a
than 5, I
while,
think.
yeah.
Well, because I remember
Feels like
growing
a
up, and
decade.
they had the incidental.
Yes.
So it's definitely in my
Lifetime?
lifetime.
But you're a much
5
older
years, though.
person now, as a 30-year-old.
Shoot, man,
Yeah.
time is a bee.
It's
Yeah.
a flat circle, some would say.
Not for him.
Not for,
It's
that's-
going one way, the wrong way.
No, man,
It's heading the wrong way.
I'm gonna do that the health kick thing. I'm
gonna do that. Like the guy spends $9 million a year to try to stay the same.
But I'll
age?
spend like $19 on it. I don't have $9 million to just.
Did you even do your push-ups today?
Oh, son of a. No.
You didn't?
Not yet.
You big dummy.
You know who didn't eat donuts the past 2 days?
You.
This guy.
Good job.
And I love donuts.
There's still some donuts.
I know, and they're
donuts here.
Cinnamon twists.
It's a big. The cinnamon twist is gone. There's a big fritter in there still.
Oh, son of a!
That's too much. Too much.
It's
too
like
much
a
fruit.
manhole cover.
It's a fritter. Is there an apple in there? What am I having a donut for if I'm going to taste apple?
And I love them, and I am. This is willpower.
Yeah, but you could do it. You look great. Go have a fritter.
No,
You
that's
should have
how
a fritter.
that's how it goes downhill.
You can have one fritter.
No, it goes downhill quick. One fritter turns into 3 fritters, which turns into next thing I know, this chair
You're
will
350 plus.
It's like gambling. Like,
I'm not
yes,
sure
he's
you could eat
earned a
one.
fritter, but all the fritters of the past that he's had,
Yes.
you know,
Thank
kinda
you.
outweigh. It's like
the,
gambling.
the ghost of fritters past.
Oh,
There you go.
Was fritter your thing? Was that the thing that got? Was fritters what got you all the time? Like,
I'm a
Trey
twist
Smith,
man, but-
Trey Smith said he was hard to stay away from chocolate and sweets.
Sweets?
The sweets.
Like,
Sweets?
if I were an offensive
Sugar?
lineman,
Sugar?
I would love that so
Ricky
much.
and
I could just
Ricky
crush.
Williams.
I would crush so many bad foods.
Anything-
But
Go eat the fritter.
the fact being 5'10", you cannot be an offensive lineman with short
true.
arms. I can't be a left tackle.
That's true.
Really?
Anything more addicting, Ricky, that you've had in your life?
Sweets?
Sweets?
Sweet?
Sugar?
Sugar?
Which is
Great moment in 60-minute
great.
history.
'Cause he's right. Sugar is more addicting.
He's way
than
ahead of the
marijuana.
game.
He was way ahead of the game. Todd
Lebo's
Lebo.
eating sweets right now. This
I
is
got this little.
Well, he's already
they're in
worked
there.
out.
how
He's
many
earned
calories?
it.
How many calories in that bad boy?
He's earned
80
it.
or 90.
Oh,
he
80
burned
or
off-
90.
That's what it says. It's
He
in
burned
Spanish.
off 5 times.
It is in Spanish. They're the muy bon rolls.
They're the muy bon. Todd Lebo's hanging out with us. He's already worked out. He's
Already
earned
worked
that
out.
particular
Tomorrow,
sweet
by the
treat.
way, tomorrow, I believe, if my math is correct at base camp, number 250. I'm going to get a T-shirt tomorrow.
That's awesome.
T-shirt.
250 workouts there at base camp.
100.
You look good.
Interesting that that's tomorrow for you because the Kansas City Chiefs, being Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan, we talked to Mark Donovan at the Super Bowl, and they are at the league meetings, and they talked about what an updated timeline would be for a decision on Arrowhead or the new stadium,
It's
wherever
moved a
they'll
little
be
bit, huh?
playing. So now they are wanting it to be done and something announced by summer.
That sounds like mid-calendar year, which is what
yes,
John Sherman said.
right, yes. June 30th is when the Star Bonds expires.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Donovan told us at the Super Bowl that if they showed substantial progress, they could vote to have those extended. But it sounds like nobody on either side wants to go down that route.
No, get something figured before
They
that.
want to get something figured out before then. And we'll find out maybe not. I don't know. Sometime soon. But it is 1 year ago tomorrow when Jackson
vote.
County voted down the 3/8 cent tax.
Can you believe how time has flown like that? I mean, that does not seem like a year ago.
Yeah. 1 year ago tomorrow. Your 250th workout. How many workouts did you have this time last year? Not 250, I'll tell you that much.
No, not 250.
Yeah. But your 250
150
tomorrow.
maybe?
I got
Maybe.
a T-shirt for 100. I can find a picture of that.
You got to
somewhere.
find a picture.
I
of it,
was
see what
doing
that
this
date is.
last
My
year.
next T-shirt's not till 500.
Oh, man, that's a long
Got a
way
ways
away.
to go.
That was
way away.
pre-Sterling as the midday with you.
Yeah, there
I
you
was
go.
doing the show that evening for the
That's
For the
right.
vote?
and it was shocking because we thought it was gonna
Most people did.
we thought it was gonna pass or at least be extremely
It was
close,
not close.
and it was not close. That was a wild turn of events.
Yeah, and Adam Teicher still says he feels like it'll be renovated Arrowhead. My feeling all along, and my guess, has been that it would be in Kansas. It makes a lot of sense financially, and it makes a lot of sense for the things that, at least the plans they seem to be having with what they want to do with the stadium and the surrounding area. And hearing Mark Donovan talk about the plans for the future of flag football and the Olympics in 2028, and having a training facility and having a professional flag football team here with the NFL then maybe getting in business of the flag football and hosting a professional league, that, well, why wouldn't the Chiefs do that? And if they're going to do that, we should plan for it right now. A lot more area over there, commercial. Although for the first time we heard the Chiefs say, well, we actually have come up with some ideas as to how we can expand and do some things at the Truman Sports Complex. and invest there that would be worthwhile. I don't know what that would be, but they've spent a couple of
They've
years.
been on record saying it's
been a
not
couple of
worth
years,
doing it.
Todd, of there's a reason why nothing has been developed out there. Nothing against that area, but there's a reason why nothing has been developed. It's not really something that's viable, to now saying, no, we've got some ideas as to how we could do that. But if they were to go down that route, they'd have to decide by early summer, midsummer, whenever. But then you've got two opportunities this year, August and November, to put a measure on the ballot to get something done.
Easier said than done
Yes.
to even get anything on the ballot.
Right. And same thing with John Sherman and the Royals. Like, they need to they need to figure out something sooner than the Chiefs do, because the Chiefs have said they're playing at 2031, and John Sherman said they will not be playing at the Truman Sports Complex. He said that last Wednesday,
right,
in his press conference. That
for the however many
we
of
won't
time.
we won't be there at Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah. So the leases run out in the spring of 2031. So that could mean the last football season at Arrowhead is still 2030.
Till 2030. Yeah, good point.
But because the lease runs out, it was springtime, I think, when they signed him. But you see these numbers. I mean, they're talking about like $3 billion stadium in Kansas. Star bonds may not pay off all of $3 billion. Okay, so there's some significant money put in by the club at that point to do that.
A lot more than renovating.
Yes. And if they get something on the ballot that helps a little bit with Jackson County, that will be some money. That's still not paying. I mean, the numbers last year, the money they were going to bring in from the sales tax was not going to pay for their stadium. No. There's still plenty of money that needed to come in. I don't know. I mean, they got to talk to the state to see if they can get some state money. I know Kansas City would like to give them some money somehow. I just don't know how you get there in Missouri. It may be $1 billion to renovate. I don't know where.
I mean, it was $1 billion with the whatever the renderings were this last time. It was $800 million.
Yeah. And
the Hunt family and the Chiefs had pledged $300 million. But I think that you're going to have to do something a little more. It would be 4 times that amount if you're going to build new in Kansas. I mean, Star Bonds will take care of some of it, but it's going to be
a pretty good chunk for the Star Bonds.
It's going to be a lot of private that's going to be it's going to be private and public, but there's going to be a pretty substantial amount of private money that's going to be needed to build that dome.
The stadiums aren't getting cheaper.
Well, and with what cost of materials?
Who knows?
In the next 6 months?
Who knows?
2 years? Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, with tariffs and where materials come from, I don't know what it'll be. And by the time, listen, if they decide they want to build something, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, and that got closer when Donovan talked to you. I think the Royals, if the vote would have passed last year, they would have been downtown before the lease came up. But that they could have worked that out because the lease has poison pills to leave Jackson County, and they'd have been in Jackson County. They have no interest, the Royals, in playing outside of Jackson County before 2031.
Yeah,
because it costs some money. Same thing goes for the Chiefs. So if you decide what you want to do, it's going to take years to build the stadium. If they're renovating, doesn't matter. They'll just do what they do. But if they're moving, it'll be a process that takes several years because even though time goes quickly, that's still a long ways away.
Yeah.
You're talking about 25 football season, 26, 27, 28, 5 more
There's
years.
at least 3 Super Bowls in there.
Could be. 4?
100%.
5?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know.
Stamp at least 2.
But, all the talk we've heard, like I keep hearing more and more now for the Royals to be downtown at Washington Square Park.
I hope.
That's what people think can happen. I don't know how they're going to get that done, if it's going to have a vote in it or they won't. Maybe they'll just, find financing the other way.
There have been some politicians that have alluded to, well, maybe we don't have to put this on the ballot in some way, shape, or form. Okay, well, let's see.
Yeah, you can find money other ways.
There's always money in the banana stand.
You get it. Maybe it's there. Maybe it's not. Hopefully nobody took it. But we'll just have to wait still because I remember talking to Mark Donovan. Gosh, it was they do the welcome to camp thing.
Oh yeah,
that was July,
July.
Right? And he didn't want to put a timeline. No deadlines, but timelines. And it was after the first of the year, and everyone kept talking about January. Now it's April. It's April. And so, by the way, mid-calendar year, and summer and the expiration of these star bonds is not that far away. It is April now. It's the first day of April, and there's May, and then it's the end of June. But that's only 3 months. That's 90 days to get something figured out.
But it's also like, from what Clark Hunt said and Sam McDowell's story in the Kansas City Star, that Clark Hunt said the team is hopeful they'll have a stadium plan ready to announce by summer at the latest. And then we played the clip from Mark Donovan at the Super Bowl when he said, quote, "We have a plan. It's just now what are the next steps of the plan? How do we get people on board?" So we take that clip from 6 weeks ago, and then we hear
maybe people
Clark
didn't
Hunt
get on board.
Well, but Clark Hunt is hopeful they'll have a stadium plan ready to announce.
Right.
Not that they don't have a plan already set. They just don't have maybe all of the details that they want to do before they go the Royals route of sort of haphazardly, no, we're going here. Well, no, we're going to go here. Well, no, actually, it's going to be over here. Well, actually, going to be over there. Oh, wait, we didn't get approval from these people, and they're pushing back. Well, now we need to come up with a deal with them on the day of the vote. We got to do. Maybe the Chiefs are going, we're hopeful that we'll have a plan to announce by summer at the latest, but we've got our plan.
Yeah.
We know where we're going. We just need to get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted.
The teams are separated, but there's still a dance of who says what first. There still is that. And it's just not a great situation. It's a tough situation to be dealing with this happening this way. They were, quote unquote, united last year, and the vote failed. And I don't think, it would have passed with just one team or the other. I think it was just a doomed thing to begin with. I think people are angry. They mobilized a bunch of people to vote against it, on principle of housing and things like this. And then there are plenty of people who live in eastern Jackson County who were mad at both teams for wanting to do anything. More at the Royals for wanting to move away, but, no one liked the renderings the Chiefs gave out. So I don't know if it was some slam dunk. If the Chiefs were alone, they would have won that vote to get that money. But as I said, that amount of money is not building or renovating Arrowhead Stadium. It's not going to do it. It's going to take other money. I still think the easiest money for either one of the teams is star bonds. That's money that can pay for itself if you get things going out there. But there's no guarantee on those either.
Yeah.
It's just how much is too much stuff, especially if you're talking about the Legends area. I don't know. I mean, there's different areas. If you go build something and you're not on the same side of 435 as the Speedway and Nebraska Furniture Mart and Bass Pro and all that stuff, you're on the other side. Now you're taking away from the people who go there, and you're dragging them over here. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's 10 football games a year, and concerts, of course, things like that. But I don't know, because I've yet to have anyone tell me precisely where they would put it out there.
Yeah, it's going to go in that area. I mean, right there's so much land out there. It's going to go in that area.
There is a lot of land, but
it's going
a lot
in that
more
area.
to it.
Where at? That area. It's right around there.
It's four quadrants of that area.
It's a lot, but it's that area though.
Yeah.
It's just over in that area.
You're not walking across or under the highway to go, get a dinner after the Chiefs game.
True.
I don't think you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, but I mean, for the area, it would be great to have a Super Bowl, to have Final Fours, to have a national championship, college football, to have all of those things, to maybe be whether it would matter to somebody or not, if they built a state-of-the-art flag football center to where Team USA trains here in Kansas City.
Whatever, anything
football.
Out there would be great.
Yeah. So I mean, right now it's just land that's sitting there.
I think it would be great for our city if the teams were separated, because that then gives you two locations to do things. And I think honestly, it would be great if one was in one state and one was in the other.
I'd be totally fine with that.
But
then especially if the Chiefs move west, then people can finally be right about where they play. Can finally
confuse
get
them.
It right. Hold on.
This is Missouri?
Hold on. Now what? You're doing good night. Come on.
It's really Kansas.
Yes. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Fact or fiction, the Chiefs play in Missouri or Kansas, but it's Kansas City. But why is it in, I don't know. Is it a fact or fiction, Sterling?
Maybe we'll find out.
Okay, sure.
Missouri City, Texas. That's a real place.
What about Nevada, Missouri?
Nevada?
Is it Nevada? Versailles.
Versailles in Missouri.
Versailles at Kentucky, too. But it's Louisville. Louisville. Versailles, learn how to read.
Fact.
I do believe that.
Fact.
I believe that.
It's too long.
It's way too long.
I believe that it's time.
No, you did 2
I
words.
believe that it's time for fact or fiction. I believe that it's time for fact or fiction.
Let's go.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Fact.
You know what? Should we start with Todd this time, or should we start
Yes.
with?
Let's switch it up. Let's go with Lebo this time.
Start with you.
Okay.
You'd lose this on your own.
How did you lose the fact or fiction that you came up with the questions? All right. Let's start with Todd.
All right, Lebo.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the new kickoff rule change. Fact or fiction?
I don't know if you absolutely love anything, but I think you are behind it. But I'll say fiction, just because I don't know if those clarifiers were maybe too much.
Yeah, I don't know if you care enough to absolutely love it, so I'll go fiction as well.
I'm gonna go fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
I read too much into it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm enamored by it.
Yeah.
I'm
just
intrigued.
enamored. I'm enamored by it.
No,
I
I'm
don't know.
enamored by
Okay.
it. There's so much
You're
enamoring
just
going on.
Thralled and enamored.
There's so much thralling going on. All right,
I'm just
Dylan.
whelmed. I'm whelmed by it. Dylan first here.
The tush push should be banned.
That's fiction.
Fiction.
I think it's fiction, but you are you.
Yes, I know.
You got a little Philly in you too, though. Fiction.
It's fiction. Just
Play
because
ball.
Just play ball.
Stop a play.
Stop it. It's football.
Football.
Right. I agree. I'll go first on this one. It's 2-1. We're tied.
Jason, it will be Florida Duke in the NCAA championship.
Oh, that's a fact, baby.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That is a fact. It will be Florida Duke, and Florida will win.
I hope.
Is that the next question?
That's the Sterling stamp.
Okay.
I
been
hope so,
stamped.
because I was looking at the email from Todd Lebo on the office
you got
pool.
some chances.
And I think what it said was that if Florida beats Duke, then somebody by the name of Jason A. wins the bracket if Florida beats Duke.
What's the A
So,
stand for?
Another W. I don't know,
think
actually.
so.
I don't think it
Anderson
sounds like that. It'd be, the A would really just be a first ever bracket contest win. So,
Leaboo.
we'll start with Ted LeBeau.
Michael Garcia will play more games in center field than Kyle Isbell.
Fiction.
Fiction.
I'm going to go fiction, but if Michael continues to hit anywhere near this, I think we should be examining him being the center fielder. But I'm going to say fiction.
Yeah, it's fiction, but I think it's gonna be close. I thought at least someone would give me a fact in there, but yeah, I think it's gonna be close.
Okay.
We will go with Dylan this time. Dylan.
Yep.
MJ Melendez plays for the Royals all season long. Fact or fiction?
Judging on like the Cards of Humanity rules and picking what you think, I will be going fiction.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an IL stint around the corner. I don't know.
Well, without injury.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's fiction.
Fiction.
Fiction. I think
It's fiction.
I think this is his final chance, and I think it's going to get taken by him.
Get those torpedo bats in
I
there.
think
Better
he-
get,
I
better
think
get
he's
himself
gonna
a
get-
torpedo pad.
If he gets a torpedo bat, then I think it's he
All
stays.
bets are off.
Yeah, he's
Although
3 years
no,
extension.
No, the thing
Long term.
you have to make contact with the torpedo bat for it to
Oh,
work.
that's still a rule?
Still have to be able to make contact with the ball. I'll go first here. It's 5-4. We're all tied.
Jason,
Yep.
I know it's one start, but most of my concerns for Chris Bubich are gone. Fact or fiction?
Man, it's always tough to tell with you with the sample sizes, and I'm gonna go with fact though. I think you're pretty pumped about it.
Most of them are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, I'll go fact.
Wow. Okay, everyone's just going to agree. It is a fact.
Yeah.
The injury concern is the last one I
He's
have for
fine.
him, but
But you
There's
said
no
most.
concern.
I said
Yeah,
most.
Not all of them. Most.
He's answering questions. You
That's
had
right.
questions. He's answering.
I
them.
had
right.
questions, and he's stamping said questions.
Stamp.
It's impressive.
Mm-hmm. It's the Bubich
Stamp of approval.
Stamp. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a stamp of
Mm-hmm.
Bubich, which I don't think that
Stamp.
actually works.
Mhm.
Staub. Stamp of.
Maybe we just start with Todd on this one.
Yeah.
All right, Lebo.
Yeah.
Moving on. I think the Niners should pay Brock Purdy at least close to what he's asking.
I don't think they should.
Yeah.
So I'll say fiction. Yeah. That's me, though.
Me as well.
I'm going to say fiction, and I think Sterling's also on fiction.
It's also fiction. Yeah, the Niners should not pay Purdy more than, what, $20 million a year?
You know who they got?
They should pay him like Geno Smith.
You know who they got, right? Our boy, well, your boy, but my boy as well, Mac Jones.
If Mac Jones pay Brock
we have
Purdy.
a bet that Mac Jones will throw for more career yards than Trey Lance that I have Mac Jones on.
Oh, that's
so
a nice spot for you to be sitting at right now.
Very good spot right now.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good. I thought Trey Lance was
Leader
going to
in
get
the
an
clubhouse
opportunity
right
at
now.
some point. I thought Trey Lance, when
he still a Cowboy?
Dak Prescott went down, would have an opportunity.
Yeah, he's a Cowboy, and they still didn't even play him when.
Yeah, they're like, no, Trey Lance is 24 years old, guys. Trey
play
Lance
Cooper.
still has a lot of. He's only 24. He's got a lot of.
Traded this third rounder for Trey Lance, and even without Dak Prescott, we're going to play Cooper Rush. Not even to see what we have in Trey Lance here. We're not going to put him out there.
How many yards am I behind Dylan in right now?
Plenty.
Yeah, every of the yards.
It's not looking
pretty
good.
much what
He threw for what, 2 passes?
I was going to say,
cleared
pretty
Trey Lance?
much what Mac Jones has thrown for is what you're behind.
No,
Just look at Mac Jones' number.
Trey
That's what you're
Lance
trailing
has
by.
thrown for 1,063 in his NFL career.
That's 1,000 more yards than I thought.
How
he
many's
threw.
Mac Jones thrown?
Mac Jones has 10,590.
Okay,
It's
you're
about
in
6,000
real
more
trouble.
than I thought.
Yeah, I'm in real trouble here. Mac Jones Pro Bowler, don't forget about it.
We are all tied at 7-6. We'll start with Dylan.
Dylan.
Yep.
I thought we just started with Dylan.
Just ask a question.
Okay.
What number question was that for you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've done 7.
This is 8 then.
Yeah,
This
8 is Dylan.
Okay. I'm really good at this game.
You're good. That's why I keep track too.
I believe the Chiefs end up in Kansas.
Damn it! You just said what you wanted to. I'm gonna go fiction. Oh wait, no. Fact. I remember now. He said that you do think that, you just don't want that. So fact on that.
I am gonna go. See, that's the think part, because you don't want it. You want it to stay at Arrowhead.
That's where I was I had no idea.
I'm gonna go with the fact that you think it ends up in Kansas.
I'll try something different and say fiction.
It's a fact. Dylan, you weren't supposed to give that away. Keep that knowledge to yourself. You made it very easy for Jason, and Lebo just wanted to be a
contrarian.
A contrarian.
I'm all tied up. It doesn't matter.
It's the Todd Contrarian guy. 8-7-6. It is all tied. We'll start with me.
Bobby Witt Jr. steals at least 45 bases this year.
Didn't even matter what you were going to say. Fact.
45?
Yeah,
Fiction.
fact.
Didn't Shohei had like 50 last year, and that was a big deal? I'll go fiction.
It's a fact.
Oh,
he
yeah.
gets at least 45 stolen bases this year. He's already stealing third. He's being aggressive in the base paths.
How many does he have already? 10?
3.
Okay.
So he's been getting
Close.
caught how many times?
Only once.
Doesn't
He's
matter.
3 for 4, 75%. He's increasing his percentage.
Doesn't matter. It's just that part of the question. Lebo.
And the one time he got caught, it was illegal blocking of the base.
No, he should have
he
opened his eyes.
Should have been safe. The guy can't kneel down in front of the base.
Todd.
Move your hand.
Illegals.
Todd.
Start with Todd.
I think the torpedo bat needs to be banned.
Fiction.
Fiction.
You appreciate smart people.
I appreciate smart people. That's fiction. That's just innovation. I
job,
hate
Todd.
the Yankees, but I wish that the Royals would have came up with this
just
grandiose
go buy some.
plan.
You better sell your stock in those bats before they, throw the first pitch tonight, the Yankees, whoever they're playing.
Just throw it low and away.
Could you imagine the purchases after that Yankee-Brewers game, and then the Royals-Brewers happened, and you're like...
It may just be the Brewers.
Yeah.
It could
Right.
be them.
No, but they're like the story this morning that there's like a bunch of other Major League Baseball players that have just ordered torpedo bats. Like a number
Just
of them.
in case.
Can't keep them on the
They've
shelves.
already
like
ordered
golf, like why would you not have it?
Yeah.
Because you could use both. But
Well, Ellie's had it, and he didn't use it until
Right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Ellie De La Cruz had the torpedo bats through spring training and played 2 games or
These guys
3
are
games,
comfortable.
and then decided to use it yesterday and goes 4 for 5 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs.
I do wonder if it's a situation where it breaks a lot. Because was it ash or maple?
That was the composition of the wood,
yeah.
not the shape.
Of the wood, but I wonder if, again, we don't know yet.
It
but
probably won't break.
If they throw a lot of outside pitches and it splinters on the end of the bat, I wonder. That's the only way I
don't
could
know.
see these things getting banned. Just throw that out there.
But it will be interesting today if the Yankees, like if the Diamondbacks go and shove and the Yankees struggle, and it's like, oh, they aren't playing in their... Corbin Burns is on the mound, by the way.
Yeah.
So, hey, they're not playing in their...
Don't throw cutters.
I say
He
throw
throws
some
cutters because
throw
cutters
some cutters.
will go into the torpedo bat.
Hey, they're not just playing against the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff. Yeah, they're still playing in a playground stadium, but Corbin Burns is out there, so we'll see. All right, it's 10-8 to 7. We're all tied. Dylan leads us off here, the final two.
I am extremely concerned about Angel Zerpa.
I'll go fiction. It's just too early.
Yeah, I think the extremely is what gives it away, but maybe you are that strong and adamant about it early on. So I'm going to say fiction that extremely is extreme.
You're losing sleep. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Finally got Jason to miss one.
Yeah, it's a fact. You know why? His underlying metrics last year
God,
were not great. I am
man.
extremely concerned.
I was 10 for 10 until that one.
You blew that.
Damn it.
But you're still tied.
It's tied 10-8 to 8.
Extremely concerned about Angel Zerpa.
I will.
Not been good.
I'll lead us off.
Left-handed pin hasn't been great.
Yeah, it's been.
Well,
been
Daniel
rough.
Lynch.
Daniel Lynch has been fine. Yeah.
Well, not the. Well, maybe they should move those guys. Maybe
Yeah, put
maybe
them in
Lynch should
different
become more a little of
Little
a
leverage.
little high leverage situation as opposed to just coming in and getting 2 and 3 innings. But boy, I don't know. He's been good in his role so far.
Last one.
I'll lead off.
Jason.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers plays for the Steelers this year.
Fact.
I guess.
Fact. I mean,
Don't care.
Yeah, same on that one.
Lebo's
Fact.
right. It's a don't care.
That's not true.
It's a don't care.
No. So we all get a point there.
It's a fact.
Yeah, it's
Boy,
a fact. I don't care, but Lebo's even more correct.
11.
Lebo was down 1, but because of that question, he's now tied.
We're all tied.
11.
We're all
That-
tied
that
up.
Stupid Angel Zerpa. I missed it, just like he's missing his spots. Damn it.
Your underlying metrics are crap
11
right now.
Terrible.
11 to 9 to 9. We're all tied.
What horrible tiebreaker do we have?
This is a good one.
Oh,
I'll
is
bet-
it?
I'll bet it's
According to
not.
you.
According to people who like food,
Okay.
rank these
Oh, okay, we had to rank it. This is
5
good.
ballpark foods. Of these 5 ballpark foods,
I like this already.
Okay, you ready, Dylan? You writing?
We're writing.
Okay, rank these 5 ballpark foods:
Uh-huh.
hot dog, nachos, beer, peanuts, ice cream helmet.
This is you.
This is just the real list. This is just not just me. This is everyone's list. Should be.
Is it in that order right there?
No, you.
It
Now
is
we
not.
have to rank 'em.
I made sure it wasn't, or it could be.
That's a good.
No,
I was
it's
going to
not.
say, as soon as you said that, like, okay, so all I have to do is rearrange this order in some way, shape, or form. How many different orders of 5 different things can there be in the world?
Get on the math.
I
on
mean,
that.
come on, get on the math. All right,
Make a torpedo bat, math boy.
we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll rank those foods according to Sterling's brain. More zone next. 7 to 9 to 9.
I think if you would have gotten to 12, we probably wouldn't have been tied.
I mean, right? If it's like
score.
sinking the 8 ball on the break. Like
you kind of blew it.
It's just a win right there. It's an immediate winner.
You dropped the baton.
Dropped
going
the ball.
in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I had to stop the race.
I got number 1 as beer.
I got number 1 as beer.
Dylan,
what's your number 1?
Beer as well.
Congratulations, you know me. Number 1 is
so
beer.
We all got a point
Now,
for that.
Beer is number
Bingo
1.
free space.
I put hot dog number 2.
I put nachos number 2 for you.
Yeah, I had. Damn it! I had. You know what?
You throw your paper away already? Show's not over. You do
I had
nachos?
hot dog too.
Hot dog. It's gonna be ice cream.
What is it?
2 is peanuts.
Oh, I see. I that for me, peanuts would be way up there, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
about you.
I had peanuts number 3.
Well, hot dog's number 3.
I had number 5.
So I had peanuts and hot dogs number
I had
3.
nacho 4.
Nachos are number 4.
But I had ice cream as ice cream's gonna be 5.
Ice cream's 5.
Ice cream's 5. It's too melty.
Yeah.
It's a whole ordeal.
But you get the hat.
What am I gonna do with the hat?
You put it on your head.
They're too small for my dome, and I have a small head.
Yeah, you do. Pinhead.
7 1/8, I think is what it is.
So what's your 2, 3, 4?
1, beer.
Yeah.
2,
Peanuts.
peanuts. 3, hot dog. 4, nachos. 5, ice cream helmet. That is the list, and that is the correct
jalapeno
list.
peppers on your nachos.
I do.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
had
also
beer and hot dog, right? Everything else was.
see, all you really need at a game is beer and peanuts.
That's pretty much it.
And then if you get like hungry, I'll get myself a dog. I'll get myself a hot dog with some mustard, some jalapenos, little cheese and onion on that bad boy. Call it a day.
I'm not a nacho guy
put
at the
some
ballpark
ketchup
anyway,
on
so
it.
nachos wouldn't have been in my top 5. But the fact that you put them in there, I'm like, oh well, then he must really like
No,
them.
they're 4. They're
like the new fancy
they're-
nachos, no. But
No.
like the old just plastic
Old school,
thing with
yes.
the little tub on the side.
that's
little
like
tub of
radioactive looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the peppers. That
No.
was a treat for me as a child out there.
But
I'd rather
peanuts
have
are all you really.
I'd rather have the
food-wise.
salt pretzel. I'd rather have the salt
What
pretzel.
about popcorn?
Dude,
I
ate some
mean, I'll go
popcorn.
to
I don't
I'll
think
go
I've
to a
ever
movie.
gotten popcorn
Yeah,
at a.
Popcorn kind of like is every stadium.
I know. I
every
kind of.
sport, so.
Popcorn to me is more of a movie theater.
We got popcorn there. Now they have the Topsies. I didn't get the Topsies.
Oh, Topsies
It
does.
smells so good, but I just
slap.
got the regular popcorn on Sunday, and it came with a big, huge souvenir bucket.
Nice.
My son took. But it also had something you could scan it and get popcorn at the B&B theaters or something.
Nice.
I'm like, well, hold on now.
Well, at Little League
Let me
games,
scan this.
you know, with these tournaments, when we play a game and then we have like a 20-minute break, a lot of popcorn ends up in the dugout. A lot of popcorn is a very
I love
popular
popcorns, and I love
Little
peanuts.
League between games. But for baseball, for
when
me, I'm
you
like,
go to one of those Little League places, they usually have some pretty good popcorn.
the popcorn's pretty good
Yeah.
at these
Good
places.
food.
With the good
Yes.
coconut oil and
Oh
stuff.
my God, the home field over the weekend, man! I had one of the best soft pretzels I've ever had. Like it was an actual soft and hot and buttery pretzel.
That's
It
where they
wasn't-
make a lot of their money,
Dude.
is the concession stand.
It wasn't a weapon. Like half the time you get a soft pretzel,
yeah,
like you
so-
can actually use it as nunchucks if you want to,
Well,
or like a brass knuckles. I
You
mean,
remember
just wrap that
the cold pretzels
pretzel right around
at
your
the
head.
media row at the
Oh,
Super Bowl? Those
yes.
were cold. We would go upstairs to the little media place. Oh, they
Yeah.
put pretzels out.
and they're just
Oh,
cold.
just not even room temperature. Colder
Yeah,
than that.
cold.
Nice.
No.
Yeah,
not
beer,
nice.
beer and nuts. That's all you need. Beer and nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take off the nachos, put on the pretzel.
I
and-
need
and
any
The
of
pretzels
this.
would
I have
still be
not
4.
gotten
Yeah, I'm fine with
an
that.
ice
The hot
cream.
dog for me.
since I was a child.
Yeah,
like the game.
I do.
Well,
I
look
do
at him.
sometimes like
Look
the
at Sterling. He's
He is
still a
young.
child.
the chocolate malt with the wooden
Oh, the
spoon.
wooden
Oh, yeah,
spoon,
see,
The
that's-
wooden spoon when you get
frosty malt,
a splinter or two. That just really builds
You know,
character.
but here's the
I'm
thing,
not
though.
even sure they have those anymore out there.
Probably because too many kids are soft. Their tongues are soft these days.
Can't get into them. They have those lemonade ices sometimes.
Anyway, did you know Sterling? Did
Did
you
just occur to you?
Sterling?
Did you just catch it?
Sterling, did you?
Oh no!
Did you guys know that at Kaufman this year? Speaking of ice cream, they have a new ice cream this year. It's ice cream of the future. It's like these dots.
Little dots?
Yeah, they can serve them in like a helmet thingy too, or a cup. So
What would
it's
you call 'em?
it's what the future is going to be. It's like Dippin' Dots or
Dippin'
something like
Dots.
that. Yeah, it's ice cream of the
I've
future.
never seen Sterling turn this red.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes you say things and
Sometimes.
that's like the second one today. That is
Sometimes
like
we
really,
don't say things. It's all the time we
Yes.
say things.
Used to sell the Frosty Malts when I
well,
first was
yeah.
a food vendor. They were 75 cents.
okay. In fairness, can you still have peanuts or again too many allergies?
So there are times out there there will be peanut-free days,
Peanut-free
in
days,
the
yeah.
in the press box.
And they'll have
Don't like those days.
won't they?
Yeah, I
'Cause
can't.
I like peanuts.
Me too.
Do they have peanut-free days at Kaufman just for the game?
I don't know for the whole game if they do, but they definitely have them in areas of the stadium that can be peanut-free. But the Frosty Malts were
I love the
75
Frosty
cents
Malt.
when
Love
I
the
first
Frosty
started.
Malt.
Then they moved to 80.
Oh.
Then they moved to 90.
Whoa.
Wow. Then they moved to $1 even.
Oh, yeah. Well,
What
once
did
that
you normally
happens-
sell?
Well, you wanted to sell peanuts because they were lighter, easier work.
What about beers? Beers, you probably made the most money though, right?
Well, if I was not 21 until I was 21, so I sold beer at
makes
Arrowhead
sense.
after I was 21. But I never did move to the beer list at the K because I was too high on the food list, and you
Oh,
don't want to go to
wow.
the bottom of the beer list. You want to be high on the food list.
That's a good point.
You go bottom
You
of the beer
worked your
list.
way all the
so
way
you,
up to
you,
fries.
you just sold a whole. You were just
He was
slinging
washing
nuts.
lettuce.
He was washing lettuce, and you worked your way all the way up to
these
fries.
guys walk around. They have in the same bucket they'll have beer, water, and peanuts. It's just
That's a
like
good
it's
point.
wild now. This dude,
a place to hang the ropes.
This
around there.
dude-
I mean, you got everything right
You know
there.
the strawberries, the chocolate covered strawberries. I think those are ridiculous. I watched the vendors at the games because it's what I used to do. That this guy must have sold 5 freaking racks of chocolate covered strawberries. I couldn't believe it.
Do you just like judge him like you're doing a good job, kid?
No,
Look
I
at
was-
you.
I
Like
was-
that guy, not a good vendor. This guy, elite. He is slanging nuts.
I can tell you.
I'm going to take the win on this one since I got 11 out of 12, and we ultimately all got
You're
sort of
just
the
taking
same.
the big L on this.
I'm going to take the win on this one.
Sterling's
also,
taking the L.
Also news,
On Friday.
Buzz Williams is resetting the shot clock for his career. He's taking the
Is he
Maryland
moving
job.
again?
He's
Oh, my
taking the
God.
Maryland job, Buzz
Can't
Williams.
take the SEC, can he?
6 years at A&M. He's
Long
got to get
enough.
out. 6 years, too much.